And a great good evening to all of you joining us here on the Marcia Week Show this 27th day of January, Monday, 2025. My goodness, we only just began the year and already we are through the first month. It's a real joy to have you with us tonight, and we're looking forward to a great show. We have a lot to unpack, and we are going to be having some special guests in with us that will be helping us to unpack everything that we are dealing with tonight. And of course, we are more than happy to welcome all of you from Her Majesty's, no, not Her Majesty, the loyal opposition. I think this is how Rose puts it, sons and daughters all. I believe that's how she puts it. And of course, I guess I could call it the CARICOM loyal opposition, because we are going to be having a CARICOM brother joining us again tonight. And it certainly is going to be a pleasure to have him with us again this evening. So let me welcome all of you here. Some of you have been waiting for a while. I'm just looking through the information that's here, and I see some of you have been waiting since 16 minutes after 4 is when I saw the first notation there. So let me welcome you, Junie Rock and Taroni Hall. Really great to have you with us again this evening. Julie Jills, as always, and thank you for the little snippets that you send to me on occasionally. I really do appreciate them. Lucinda Aline and Mark Bolan, a pleasure to have you again with us tonight. Jacqueline Aline and Queen B. And Owen Hines, thank you, locked on from Philadelphia. Well, Owen, a pleasure to have you joining us from the United States. Of course, Marcia, the show would not be the same without you, Marcia. And I mean, there are a couple of Marcias, but I'm specifically speaking to this particular one because she keeps me on my toes with the national anthem. Sir Alfred Benjamin, good evening to you, locked on from Brooklyn in New York. And hey, I see Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. He's on too. Really great to have you on, sir. Tony Paris, nice to have you with us this evening. Alvin Simpson and Grantley Griffith, a pleasure to have you joining us again tonight. We look forward to really sharing with you all. And remember, you can always put your questions and comments in the chat. Thankfully, I have a great background team back with us again tonight. And let me take this opportunity personally to welcome Marcia and Dave Weeks back to the show. Marcia was on Friday night. My goodness, as fired up as she, I mean, even more fired up than she was coming out of that restful environment, and with so much of that information out of Africa. My goodness, I mean, unbelievable. And that gentleman that she had shared with us, he's one of my favorite speakers out of Africa. I don't recall his name, but I'm sure she knows who I mean, and I'm sure you know who I mean. And then, of course, last night's show, tremendous show last night. Again, I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but the snippets I got to see, my goodness, tremendous show. And I believe Mr. Corey Beckles shared a bit too there concerning the new political party. We have, thank you, Lumumba. Lumumba, that is correct. Lumumba, I mean, he's one of my favorite speakers, period. And a man who speaks straight. I love it. Speaks straight. And you know, I like people like that. I don't like people to beat around the bush with me. I like to know exactly where they stand. I don't like people to suck up to me, that kind of thing. And yes, Marcia, he's passionate and exuberant. Yeah, there are the words for Marcia, true, but also the words for Lumumba. I mean, he is, you know, straight and doesn't mix words concerning the aspects of colonialism in Africa and anything of that nature. I've really enjoyed several of the speeches that I've watch him deliver on YouTube, and in some instances on Facebook and on another platform where I interact a lot with persons from Africa. So I'm so happy tonight to welcome Marcia and Dave Weeks back. Dave is going to be assisting me tonight. Thank God. You know, because I've been like monkey handling gun, but I'm learning how to hold it and how to. Well, that I better not make fun about that, because we've had quite a weekend to unpack. So don't let me make fun about that. Really, because it's quite a very serious thing. So let me just steer away from that. But great to have Dave back with me, and I tell you, it was a joy watching Marcia back on this on the ball again last night and Friday night. Real joy to have her back. There is just no one that can deliver like Marcia. We are all a part of a team, but as you know, in every team, particularly if you're a lover of cricket, we have the opening batsmen, the middle order, the opening bowlers, the spinners, the pacers, the keeper, the specialized slip fielders and leg slip fielders, and different positions. And there are some that shine a bit better than others. And certainly, Marcia is one of those opening batsmen that really, really shines tremendously. So, want to personally welcome her back. And we're up to 205. I have always said that I want to get into the national anthem shortly after we reach the 200 mark, and there are a number of things I want to comment on tonight before I get into our guests. And so let me redeem the time and let us together celebrate the country through the singing of the national anthem. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. And I want to comment on just one or two things from the national anthem. But before I do, share together with me, please, our national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. There is always, whenever I hear the national anthem, there's a line or a phrase that jumps out to me, especially within the context of our current experiences in the country, in the island of Barbados. Over the last week, we have looked at matters to do with property and the disposal of property to overseas and foreign investors into our country. And I remember a comment made by our national hero, the Right Honorable Errol Walton Barra, concerning the fact that Barbadians will wake up one day and find out or discover that the country no longer belongs to them. And in that national anthem, there is a line. One of the lines that stands out for me tonight was the line that I used for the advertising of the show tonight. Are now our very own. This is what it says. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. From St. Lucie to Christchurch, St. Michael to St. John, St. Philip, all the West Coast, it belongs to Barbadian citizens. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. And as I prepared the heading, the caption for tonight, I indicated are now our very own. Still, because what we are seeing happening and what we are hearing planned and the allegations relative to the disposal of aspects of property in this country by the administration to foreign investors in the name of advancement, development, and so on, it ought to be concerning for every single Barbadian. I have already said that on this show is apolitical. We have entertained members of the opposition party. We are quite open to entertaining members of the governmental party. We are here to speak on the behalf of the citizens of Barbados. That is the purpose of this show, to expose, to tell truth, to reveal the things that are not politically in line. And when I say that, we are not here. If the government does something, well, we'll commend it. They're beginning to address the matter of potholes in this country. They're beginning. And when I say beginning, I don't mean in the context of trying to impress people from overseas because of a World Cup or anything of that nature. I'm talking about doing their job. You all know that I've already on this show expressed, and I will always express it, that no government minister should expect accolades for doing his job. That is the reason the people of Barbados employed every member of parliament to represent them and to look out for what is in the best interest of Barbados. But I have always felt that wherever there is going to be a significant shift relative to any aspect of this country, there should be significant consultation with the people, because long after a government has left office, the people of Barbados will have their stink to try to clean up. And that is why I feel so strongly on some matters that I feel this evening. And so as I look at the national anthem, I ask the question, can we truly say that the land in which we live is still our very own? We have to be very vigilant that we do not find ourselves in the same predicament as a sister island in the Caribbean further north, whose name I will not call because it may not be diplomatic for me to express it, but I have visited that country on 19 more occasions, tons of occasions, as I've traveled between the two, and I'm sure you know which country I mean, where there is a concern because the expats have pretty well taken over the entire country. So I'm very concerned in the face of so-called progress that Barbados no longer belongs to the people of this country. It is important that it remains the possession of the people of this country. So I just wanted to touch on that. Now, moving quickly to the second thing I want to touch on tonight, it has to do with this matter of a recent executive order issued by the President of the United States of America pertaining to the matter of immigration. Now, let me say this. I appreciate the fact that there are people who love Donald Trump and people who hate Donald Trump, and people who are very informed and those who are misinformed. And you will always find people who will love love an individual and appreciate an individual, and others who do not. I'm sure that when we speak on this show concerning matters to do with our current Prime Minister, whom incidentally we do not hate, that there are members supporting her in the country, and that cannot be ignored. Similarly, there are people who oppose her in this country, but that is the beauty of democracy. Democracy facilitates different opinions, different likes, and that type of thing, where we can have significant dialogue and passionate exchanges and so on, but still maintain decorum, decency, and agree to disagree agreeably. That is the beauty of democracy. That is the strength of democracy. You can't do this in China. You can't do this in Russia. You can't do this in certain Middle Eastern countries. And I dare say in some South American countries, you'll be putting your life on the line if you did it there. So we need to cherish the dimension of democracy that we have in Barbados. Okay, and yeah, I understand. You don't have to like her, Lena. I get it. You don't, and I don't have to hate her. But one of the things I want us to focus on is policy. Sometimes we can get so bogged down with personality that we ignore the policy. And that, my friend, is what the Democrats in America have done, which is why they lost the elections. They were paying more attention to the personality rather than the policy. And they were not addressing policy. I am addressing policy. The president has issued an immigration position, and I saw in article in the Barbados today that CARICOM countries have been urged to establish contingency plans to address the potential mass deportation of Caribbean nationals from the United States, according to the Barbados ambassador to CARICOM, David Commission. He has warned this. Now, I want to say this. When people come to visit this country, they can't stay here how long they like. You and I know that even at the airport, persons are turned away. They're not even allowed into the country. The immigration department reserves that right to allow you to enter the country or not. There are those who come into the country and overstay their welcome. And we know, and I can refer you to immigration authorities who I know, they will tell you that when you overstay your time in this country and you are identified and located, you are deported. That is the position of every sovereign nation on the planet. I don't know what makes people think that they can just go into the United States of America, stay there as long as they like, ignore the legislative aspects and the laws of the country, and then expect to be embraced and given a pathway to citizenship. It doesn't work that way. That is the reason you have points or ports of entry, airports, seaports. Those points of entry are set up for the specific purpose of dealing with your entry into the country. If you want to be a resident or citizen, you use the appropriate legal channels. And when you defy the law and break the law, it is a criminal act. You are not a undocumented worker. You are an illegal alien. That is what you are. Don't try to make it nice, and by attempting to do so, you decrease the significant importance of a sovereign border, a sovereign country. So I'm in full agreement. Some of you may not agree with me. That is your prerogative. That is the democracy I'm a part of. But I'm in full agreement of removing persons from a country that are there illegally, and especially those who involve themselves in criminal activity. Give you grant that illegal entry into the country is a criminal act. You could be imprisoned or you could be extradited or deported. It is a criminal act. When you break the law, it is a criminal act, whether it is at the border or at the supermarket or in your personal home. If you breach the law, it is a criminal act. That's a fact. And furthermore, concerning this matter of birthing rights and so on, do you think the Immigration Department of the United States is so stupid not to know that the reason people come into the United States of America pregnant is to give birth to a child in the States so that citizenship or access or the pathway to citizenship could be obtained? You think the people, well, our Immigration Department here is the same. Our Immigration Department here is exactly the same. They look at the facts here. I'm not sure in terms of our Constitution if somebody who's not a Barbadian enters the country pregnant and gives birth to a child in Barbados, if they're automatically a Barbadian citizen. That is how it is in the United States. And some people seem to think that the Immigration Department in the United States of America is stupid and not aware of it. We have a lot of Barbadians that have gone to the United States of America and overstayed their welcome and now are in danger of being deported. But you put yourself in that. So don't blame don't blame the American government or the president, who is seeking to rein in an insane number of people crossing illegally into his country. Our prime minister would not permit that. Neither would be the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Neither would the prime minister of Grenada. None of the prime ministers of the Caribbean would permit people coming willy-nilly into their country and setting up business and doing things and all that kind of stuff, and benefiting from all the privileges of a citizen of the country just like that. No country facilitates that. Come on, man. Let's stop this nonsense. Okay, if you are traveling to the United States, every time I go into the United States, my passport is stamped 6 months. I travel on a B1, B2 visa. It's a visa where I can do business or I can be there on holiday, but I cannot work in America. I cannot work there. And if I stay in America and I work and I am caught, I deserve to be deported because I have breached their immigration laws. I don't understand why people would think they have a right to violate the laws, the immigration laws of a country, and then expect to be embraced and hugged and loved up and everything a welcome to the country. This is not a matter about America being a land of immigrants. I am sure the majority of people who are immigrants in the United States of America have entered through the processes that they're supposed to enter through. I am not an expert. I have not researched it, so I cannot vindicate or verify it. I will tell you that. But there is no debate and argument by anyone that America is a land of immigrants. But the issue is illegal immigration. That is the issue. All right. So please, if the CARICOM leaders want to do anything, rather than getting together and talking, what they should do is that they should establish a grouping or committee or whatever to meet with the President of the United States to establish a position with relation to CARICOM residents, CARICOM citizens in Barbados who are there illegally. Because I believe that most CARICOM citizens who are there illegally are not disrupting their cities and so forth. They're simply trying to make a better living for their families back home. And this is something, rather than getting together and chit-chatting foolishness about President Trump, I don't care whether you like him or not. That is not the point. The point is, he is the president. And whether we like it or not, Mia Mottley is the Prime Minister of Barbados. You can't change that any other way but going to the Constitution currently that exists and voting her out through the democratic process of casting your vote. That's the reality of it. That was done on the 5th of November 2024. The 77+ million people in America spoke on the matter. And believe you me, 77 million of them are not racist. I have heard a lot of this stuff about racism. I have gone through it. But because of my accent, and because people realize that I am not an American, I have been treated completely differently. That is my personal experience. I have also been pulled aside on immigration line. My son was pulled aside from an immigration line coming back home from to Barbados from the United States of America. When we went to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, myself and 2 others of the team were pulled aside by immigration. For whatever reason, they took our passports, took us to a room. We sat down. They went through our passports, came back out, and thanked us. You know, they were doing some checks and let us back out quite. And that was that. That's their right, folk. It's their country. So rather than sitting down and talking among yourselves, and I won't say foolishness, maybe you need to meet to establish a grouping of persons who will be able to go to the United States, meet with the president, because a number of people have been meeting with him even before he was inaugurated on the 20th of January. Persons have been meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago. Why couldn't the leaders of CARICOM go ahead of inauguration day? Because they knew this was coming up. This was a part of his campaign. I'm not here to talk about American politics. I'm merely talking about the matter of CARICOM residents in fear. The only, and I really like the Bible. I must tell you, the Bible says that the people who keep the law have nothing to be afraid of. Go read it in the book of, I think it's in the book of First or Second Timothy. It talks about the law is for those persons who are lawless. People who keep the law have nothing to worry about. If you stop at a red light, you have nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. If you go into the supermarket, pick up goods and pay for them, you have nothing to worry about. It's when you break the law. Now, I am aware that visiting and living in America are two different things. Yes, you are correct. But I'm also aware that there has been a significant improvement in the United States where racism is concerned. And if there is any matter concerning racism, I am telling you tonight that it has been fueled by those politicians who do so for their own benefit and interest and not for that of the country. We hear people talk about coming together, and yet all of their rhetoric is nothing but divisive. The two can't mix. You got to stop the rhetoric of divisiveness. I don't care which side it's coming from, Democrat, Republican, Biden, or Trump. I don't care. If you want to come together, you're going to have to meet together. The Prime Minister of Barbados and the leader of the opposition ought to be able to come into a room and sit down and meet together and discuss what is in the best interest of this country, not simply in Parliament. They should be able to meet outside of Parliament and have a conversation. That is what democracy is about. I'm leaving that right there. The next thing I want to move on to quickly in the next couple of minutes I have is this matter of the Barbados ID card. Because here we go again. The matter has resurfaced. And I have asked Dave, I sent Dave a video with regards to this. And I'm going to ask Dave to run this video because the government has tried on occasions before to mandate the having of this Trident ID card. And I did my research, and the World Economic Forum, and I've said it to you before, they indicated that digital IDs are a case where there can be serious risks of marginalization and oppression, where the ID being used is used to facilitate the identification, surveillance, and persecution of individuals or groups. So we have to be vigilant to ensure that if we are going to advance the ID card, it is not used for those purposes. The government tried, and now they're trying through the back door to get people to take the ID card. They introduced it that now the senior citizens have to use it, have to pin it. No problem having the card, but have to pin it now. And we know the risk involved concerning the pinning of the ID cards as has been globally revealed. So here is the next aspect, because I couldn't get it introduced before. They play the video. Let's hear what it says.
Barbados. Say goodbye to the hassle of having to provide 2 or 3 pieces of ID and utility bills as proof of address. Coming soon, there will be a new convenient method for verifying your address using your Trident ID card. Your address, complete with your BBID and updated postal code, is now at your fingertips on your Trident ID. Remember that unique PIN you set up for your Trident ID card? Well, that's all you will need. No more searching for old utility bills or requesting confirmation letters from your landlord, parents, or spouse. Simply scan the chip on your ID card and enter your secure PIN to access your address details.
For more information, visit gisbarbados.gov.bb.
Thank you very much, Dave. I want you all to pay attention to 3 things. I want you all to pay attention to 3 things said in that video. Number 1, the word hassle, hassle-free. Now, why could I not have used my ordinary, I wish I had it to hand, my ordinary Barbados ID card, which carries all of my information to do with me being a Barbadian citizen, my address, everything. Why couldn't I have used that before? But no, you now have to get the ID card, and notice, you have to use your unique PIN as where you can reveal all, no more utility bills. So that is opening up a door of access to your personal banking information. I want to make this clear. This is not conspiracy or a joke. It means that when your ID card is PIN and you use that PIN ID card that is linked to the government's perspective, government's control, that you are now opening up a door when you go to do a loan or pay bills or anything of that nature, you know, set up accounts or whatever. You open up that, you put the thing there, use the PIN, so that information is recorded straight back to government facility. So that when the World Economic Forum warns, it does not say that the digital ID card is bad, but it says that it can be used for nefarious purposes. And given the last several years that we have gone through, with the pandemic, nobody trusts government anymore. I need to focus on all of these matters, not just on Barbados's issues. That's the problem we have in Barbados. The problem we have in Barbados is that a lot of Bajans don't realize that what is happening here is not set up by what is set from Barbados. It is set from what is set from outside of Barbados. So you need to understand that you are dealing with matters from overseas. Nothing strange on the immigration issues, Everton. Those are facts. If you wish to contend them, you are at liberty to do so. But whatever you do, go and do your research. That is all I have to say with regards to the matter. I am not coming back to that. The old ID cards have no address. Incidentally, I don't believe the new ones have any address either. But the information, I stand to be corrected. I was looking at one today and I don't recall seeing an address on it. I could be wrong. I don't recall seeing it. But the information holds the same. The information on my new ID card is no different to the information on my old ID card. Okay, but the reality is the world, listen, this is the world, this is not Ferdinand Nichols, you know. This is not the Marcy Week show. This is the World Economic Forum. If you wish, I can put the link in the chat that you can go for yourself and you can read the information that is there, because we believe in letting people know what is going on, having them do their own research. So the link is in there. You can go and you can read what the World Economic Forum has warned concerning the risks of the digital ID. Are we saying that our Barbados government will use it in that manner? I don't know. Nobody trusts governments anymore. And on the basis of what went on during the pandemic, I don't trust this government either. That is a straightforward position. All right, that's just my take on the matter. The other thing I want to touch on very quickly, and I do want to give accolades and kudos in this area. I don't know how many of you have traveled along the Newton roundabout by the highway, but there is a strange looking building being constructed on your left as you're driving to Bridgetown, as you come around the Newton roundabout. A strange looking construction on the left. If you're going up, it's on the right. Now, some years ago, I had attempted to obtain the representation for the company here in the Caribbean, only to discover that there actually was a Caribbean rep out of South America. But it's a lovely building. I tell you, a building that I have intended that if we were ever going to set up our own facility, church, and so on, we would have used that building. And I want to ask Dave to just show it. There are a couple of very quick clips. I want to ask Dave to just show so you can see, you can take a look at the building. It is very unique. I want to commend Mark Hill, because I believe it's his baby in terms of thought. I will have to confirm that with him, but I want to commend him. You know, my mother said, give kudos or give Jack his jacket when it is due. And when people are deserving of it, I will give it to them. And I want to commend Mark for this particular building program, this particular building system structure that is going up there at Newton. I understand he is the initiator of it. I stand to be corrected, but it's a tremendous building. And I was listening to some information with regards to its use and so on. Sounds very good. I hope it works out for the locals concerned as it relates to the Barbadian entrepreneurs. So if you could just run those two clips for me very quickly. Dave, there you are. Isn't that an intriguing looking building? This one is circular, but they do a number of different designs and so on. That's it in the process of being constructed there. You can see how it's coming together around. It's in a big circle. And that is Mr. Mark Hill. And who knows, maybe one of these days we might be able to get him on to talk a little bit more about that. But that's the last thing I wanted to chat with you about. Tremendous building. I know the systems. I believe there is a picture of the building EZD, but I believe it would be probably on the BIDC website. That's where I got this video from. And I can encourage you to go take a look at it. Yes, just hold it there, Dave. That cannot be blown down by a hurricane. This building is designed to withstand winds of up to 350 to close to 400 miles an hour. It's an extremely strong subframe and fabric. I'm forgetting the word right now. That is extremely hard to penetrate. It's really not easy to be penetrated, but it's a beautiful building, and I really want to commend Mark with regards to it. So that's my take for the night. I've been straight when it comes to the matter of immigration, Barbados IDs, and so on. Some of you may agree, some of you may not, but again, that is the beauty of democracy. All right. Now let me welcome my first guest to the show tonight, one who has become a very familiar face for all of us. And I want to say welcome this evening, Umar, to you. Again, a pleasure to have you joining us here on the Marcia Week show. We always look forward to your aspect of the global environment. And this is something that I believe many Caribbean people need to wake up to and realize that a lot of what is being imposed upon us in Barbados is coming from elements outside of the CARICOM region. The President of the United States, you would remember, has recently withdrawn the United States from the World Health Organization, action I agree with him on, and I will reserve my comments with regards to that, and restricted the limitation of funding to the UN. Which seems to have deviated from its original intent. So welcome, Umar. A pleasure to have you on the show with us again tonight. And we look forward to what you're going to be sharing with us this evening. You have to unmute.
Right. It's a pleasure to be here again. And, I must say pleasant good night to all your viewers and listeners globally. As much as you all can share this live or this link to your friends, your relatives, and those persons who you associate with, it's important that this type of messaging gets out. Again, I want to thank you for having me tonight. And, I just want to continue along with regards to speaking about how important it is for the people to understand the power that they have and how much we can do if we only come together and unite on a common cause. Far too often, we have seen a lot of tragedies throughout the Caribbean region, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. Quite recently, we have seen a number of deaths in our hospitals. We've seen recently a number of babies dying in our hospitals here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have not yet had closure on that particular incident. And a lot of patients ending up in the hospitals, having to go through the ICU, etc., etc. We've seen not a pretty outcome with those cases. Also, those persons end up dying, very, very tragically. And it's not because of initially ailments that they would have presented themselves with to the hospital, but it would have been an ailment that they would have gotten after presenting themselves at the hospital. All right, and this is by no secret. Everybody knows what has been happening in our hospitals, the ICU, doctors are administering medication, drugs that is, you know, wreaking havoc on the organs of these individuals. We've seen in Trinidad and Tobago where our Minister of Health would have given the green light to use remdesivir, a drug that was abandoned in, you know, by the WHO and other
Yes,
agencies.
yes. And
You
ivermectin as
know,
well.
yeah. And
Mhm,
why it is this is happening? We have to be asking ourselves these questions. Now,
mhm.
the thing about it is that at the helm, at the top of all of this, is the WHO. The WHO, all right? They are the spectators, they are the ones who are overlooking, overseeing all this, what is happening in our healthcare system, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, I guess it's the same in Barbados and other parts of the Caribbean region as well. And we have a regional representative of the WHO, which is PAHO. And as a matter of fact, you know, quite interestingly, those deaths that I spoke about of those babies, PAHO is investigating those deaths. Imagine the criminal investigating themselves for a crime that they have committed. All right. And this is exactly what is happening. And we would have applauded the decision of the United States President Donald Trump, you know, for finding a reason to divorce himself from the WHO. And for whatever reason there was that he could have found to divorce himself from the WHO, we are applauding it, because that's a serious blow to the WHO. As we know, the United States is the biggest funder of the WHO. Now that funding is going to be cut. All right, the WHO is going to have to find new sources to get funding and so on. So this is definitely going to put some how you call it,
Some
challenge,
pressure.
right, for the
Mhm.
WHO to continue you know, in doing what it is they've been doing, right, infiltrating our countries and interfering with the sovereignty and democracy of our Caribbean countries and our Caribbean nations. All right, and so we applaud that effort, but our interest in getting our governments and getting our you know, authorities in Trinidad and Tobago and throughout the Caribbean region to separate themselves and divorce themselves from the WHO, obviously is because of the stress that they have placed our healthcare system under as a result of their policies and directives and the initiatives, etc., etc. And we've seen from time and time again governments within the region are signing on to a number of initiatives being you know, initiated by the WHO. So what we are saying here tonight, we are saying the people need to force the hand of their governments to divorce themselves from the WHO, separate themselves from the WHO, and whatever funding that they are funding or giving to the WHO, they need to cut it off. The WHO needs to be put to death. All right, we need to put the WHO to death. We don't need to hear about the WHO anymore. All right, and I have you know, went ahead and have written to our Prime Minister explaining to him and giving him all the reasons why he should divorce himself from the WHO, right, and do away with the WHO. And we don't want to hear nothing about the WHO no more. We don't want to go in our hospitals and see no placard, no signs, and no how you call it, those information
Yeah.
placards and so on, you know, with the WHO signage at the bottom and so on. We don't want to see that
Yes.
anymore. We believe that we, the Caribbean, we in the Caribbean region, we can create our own you know, system of you know, monitoring and you know, that organization that that
Yeah.
gives oversight of the medical fraternity throughout the region. And we believe we have the expertise, we have the experience to do that. Our countries
Um,
are unique. Yeah.
Omar, if I could jump in here for just a second, because two things quickly I wanted to just share with you. Number one, the World Health Organization is not an organization that does any research on anything.
No.
They get their information from the CDC, FDA,
Yeah.
or other scientific groupings around the world. That's where the information comes from. That's the first thing. The second thing is what you're saying about our people are absolutely correct. Omar, do you know that right now in Barbados, I won't call her name. I am holding her business card in front of me. We have in Barbados the only doctor in the Caribbean that addresses scoliosis, of the back, of the spine.
Yes.
The
Yes. Yes. Yes.
only doctor in the entire Caribbean, Omar, is in Barbados. A brilliant young lady in this country. She flies in and out of the country to help deal with people who are suffering from scoliosis of the of the spine, and people come in here. So we do have the capabilities. We have some of the most experienced doctors and intelligent doctors. Give you a grant. I think there is a need to upgrade our technological aspects of medicine within the context of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
We could probably talk
Mhm.
about that. But nevertheless, I don't believe that we need to be depending on some outside entity to tell us how to look after the health of our people. We have all the papalis,
Exactly.
we have all,
Right.
they come in these countries. You can tell me if I lie, Omar. They come in these countries, pick up our vegetable or our vegetation, take it back to their scientific laboratories, process it there, do their additives, etc., package it, and then sell it back to us for phenomenal profit. People can tell me if I lie or if I true.
That's absolutely correct, and that's exactly what has been taking place. And as you speak about that, doctor, I remember I myself have a case of scoliosis as well, and I visited a doctor in Tobago, a very brilliant doctor, and just sitting and having a conversation with that particular doctor, you learn so much, and he teaches you so much and helps you to understand, you know. And he gave me some diagnosis and so on, and give me some advice as regards to my scoliosis and what have you and so on. There was another particular doctor I remember when my son was young, when he was a baby. He was just rejecting any type of milk that we were giving him. He was just rejecting it,
Mm-hmm.
rejecting it. We had no idea what was happening, what was going on. We visited a number of health centers and the hospitals and so on. At that time, I wasn't as educated I am now on how these institutions operate. So we were trusting in these institutions and so on, and nobody could have told us what was going on. And somebody put me onto this doctor, and I went to him, and he sat down and he had a discussion with us and so on. And he pulled out a very thick book from his shelf, and he put it on the
Yes.
table, and he opened a particular page, and he told my wife and I, he said, what your son is suffering with is going to go away soon enough. He said what happens is that every so often the first boy child of the woman, right, sometimes suffers with a narrowing of the esophagus.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the narrowing of that esophagus, the milk or whatever we give to him, it stays just in that area and does not go into the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it will get sour, and again he would reject it and so on and so forth. And he told us, he said, don't give him so much of milk, give him little bit, and eventually he's going to grow out of it. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly
Yes,
what happened.
yes,
There was
yes.
another incident. There was an incident that I could have recalled, and WHO was no part of that the discussion and decision making. Right?
No,
There
no.
was another incident of this same doctor. A man went to him. Well, he was going all over the place. He was suffering. He was paralyzed on a wheelchair, and eventually went to this doctor, and he told the doctor that how the doctors gave up on him. They tell him, they reach to the point where they tell him it's some kind of spiritual thing people do on him or something like that, some obia and that kind of thing. So he started to talk to the man and find out from the man, his history and so on and so forth. And what he did after that conversation, he gave him a letter, and he told him to go to Mount Hope and tell those doctors to do a test on your how you call it, on your it was, oh gosh, it's right at the tip of my tongue.
Well,
How you
I'm
call
not going to
it?
call the name because I might call the wrong thing.
No, it's something that men it's prostrate, right? The prostrate. So
Oh, okay,
tell me
right.
prostate cancer, right? And the results came back positive. And he told the man, he said, when you get prostate cancer, what that does, it gets your bone brittle, right? Your
Yes,
bone becomes
yes.
brittle. And what the man went and did, he went by some chiropractor, and the chiropractor was rubbing him, right? And doing whatever he usually would do. And that broke his spinal column,
Oh,
right?
wow,
And the bone to injure the spinal cord, and he got paralyzed from his waist down, right?
wow.
And this doctor was able, without any scientific instrument or mechanical, whatever these doctors do, without any major test or whatever, right? He was able to detect in a conversation with this man that this man perhaps had prostate cancer. And it turned out to be true, right? And the man could not thank him for having that revealed to him, because he thought, people did some OB on him or something like that. They just gave up on him, and so on and so forth. So we do have the expertise in the Caribbean region.
Yes,
We
yeah.
have very
But
bright doctors.
Umar, again, forgive me for jumping in. Um, our parents were some of the best medical people on the planet. I remember, and I don't know what your experience was, when I had a cold or cough, and it's not the first time I was being bitten by a mosquito and I had dengue. My mother used to rub me down, used to take a tin, like a sardine tin, mix castor oil, turpentine, melted candle grease. She used to stuff me with Cersei bush. She used to make up something with thyme and sweet margarine. And let me tell you, wrap me up. And by morning, no joke, Omar, by morning, everything gone. And you ready to go back to school.
Yeah,
That's what our
you're
people,
quite right. I had the very same experience with my mother. You understand? And I mean, we
and
all
they were
we
not
all we all
scientists.
experienced it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and today, when you go to the hospital, like I went some time back, I went to donate blood, and when they were going through the questionnaire and so on, I was questioning them. Why this line of questioning? This particular question you're asking has nothing to do with my ability to give blood or not to give blood, right? This is a policy of the WHO.
Yes.
That's what the nurse
Yes. That's
told me.
correct.
The
That's
policy of the
correct.
WHO. So I said the WHO. I said, let me tell you something. I said the WHO is not a medical institution.
No,
They
it
have
is
no
not.
right to be
It
setting
is not.
policies
They have some
for our
consultants,
medical
but that's it.
institutions. They have no right. They're out of place, out of line, and they're not even an elected body. They have just imposed themselves on nations and countries all over the world, right? And putting these policies in place to advance their agenda in getting rid of human beings, causing human beings to become frail and weak, right? We
But
can't think
Umar,
for ourselves, get up of ourselves.
but
This is
Umar,
how people are becoming. You
you know
understand?
why I'm laughing?
And believe you me, all those drugs and medicines that people are taking over the counter that has the stamp of the WHO on it.
Yes.
Believe you
Yes.
me, that is what is causing you, the people, to sit idly by and allow the
That's right.
government to murder your children, to take control of your life, take control of your health and your livelihood, and destroy the very essence of what life is about.
That's
Right?
correct. That is
All
correct.
I'm saying,
You know,
We were the prime minister.
let me say
Yeah,
this.
we were the,
You don't mind me jumping in every now and again. Is that all right?
no, no,
And
no, no,
I hope my people don't get too upset with me. What you are saying is it sounds like the rhetoric from a man by the name of Bill Gates. And people wake up to this manner. This man didn't
yeah,
even come. I think he completed high school. I think he completed high school. He was a Silicon Valley guy. He has no experience whatsoever, no training in medicine, no education in medicine. He provides money, and all of a sudden, he's a medical expert for the entire world. And if you doubt me, Umar, there's a TED talk he does on carbon dioxide emissions. And the number one thing that he targeted in that TED talk to deal with the matter of carbon dioxide emissions was human beings. And I wouldn't like to tell you which country. I'm not going to tell you which
yeah,
country. I'm going to leave you to make a guess.
yeah, yeah. No, no,
All right?
I'm aware of it. You had a TED talk, in the year
Yep.
2015. You
Yep.
understand? And he told the world that
Yep.
the next
Fan-
catastrophe is not going to
yes.
be, it's going to be from a virus. You understand?
Yes.
And he came up with
Yes.
a plan to reduce the population of the world. People know this.
Correct.
They've heard him said
Yep.
it. And you
Yes.
still going to take these injections?
Still,
And you know the
our
man said that
governments
he's
have
going to
heard
get
him.
rid of you by using these injections.
Our prime ministers have
Okay.
heard him. Our government has heard his expressions and are still taking advice from the organization that he puts money into the organization.
When Bill Gates was a young man, he didn't finish high school, right? So I want to correct
No,
you on that.
no, he
He didn't
didn't.
finish
No, he
high school.
didn't. He didn't.
He
Oh, he
came up
didn't
with
finish
a
it.
plan. He came
Okay,
up with a
worse.
plan to
Yeah.
create a virus, right? To create a virus for a computer, right? And then create the solution to the virus.
That's right. That is absolutely
That's what he
correct.
did.
That's
That's
right.
what he did, right? And made everybody believe into this thing. So what is preventing us from believing today that this man is going to create a virus and come to you and say this is the solution for this virus and give it to
But
us?
but do you remember Dr. Fauci's statements to President Trump in his first term when he was about to take office that he made the comment that he is going to oversee a global pandemic? You remember that statement?
Yeah, I remember that.
Ah,
I
okay.
remember that. That statement
All
was
right.
made in 2017, I think it was
Correct. 2017.
2017, right? And it was the
Mhm.
same year in which the World Bank was selling bonds, pandemic bonds, to different
That's
nations
right.
throughout
That's
the globe,
correct. That's
right? And I
correct.
remember our government purchasing those bonds, and those bonds would only be valuable, or you'll only be able to cash in those bonds if you were able to show numbers, persons getting COVID, and numbers of people taking those injections. So there was a numbers game with regards to it, and our
That's
country received
correct.
something like 75,000 US dollars, I believe, as a result of that. It's all online. Go and check it out for yourself.
Yeah.
So you're telling me in 2017, a bond was created by the World Bank, sold to countries to cash into, right? And it was based on on these considerations, on these different you have to fall within that bracket. How did they know there was going to be a pandemic?
Correct. Correct.
How did they know?
Correct.
And they called it the COVID-19 bond, the
But it's the
pandemic
same
bond.
thing. It's the same thing with the current virus in China that they said they've never seen it before, never heard of it before, but the name they have given to it is found in the Pfizer documentation that has been revealed by the Supreme Court of the United States that they had to release unredacted. The name is there. And one of these nights I'm going to pull up the extract from the Pfizer document and let the people see it. But I will tell
Yep.
you, Umar, our time flies by so quickly. They tell you that time flies when you're having fun. I mean, I'm going to give you a couple of extra minutes because I took a couple of extra minutes from you. But as you know, we want to continue this education next week, Monday. At least from my end, of course, my other hosts are more than welcome to have you in on any day that you're available to engage them, and they know that. But we do want to continue engaging this aspect. And I will say to you that it would appear from your opening comments to do with the hospital in Trinidad that you're having similar problems to us that we are having here in Barbados as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's telling. It's not going to happen in one Caribbean island and not touch the others. It's going to touch everyone
Yep.
because the WHO is everywhere. The WHO is everywhere, and we have to be very, very careful with the doctors when we go to the hospitals and the doctors giving their diagnosis now, because they're
Yes.
all under this rule of the WHO, and they're operating in fear. Because if it is they don't do what the WHO says, all right,
their
they're going to lose
licenses
their
are
license.
revoked. Correct. That is what happened with Dr. McCullough. That's what happened with Dr. McCullough in the United States.
A lot of doctors watching their bread and butter. All right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this: we've had conversation with some doctors who told us, frankly, they told us, we know what they're doing is wrong, but I can't do anything. I can't say anything, right? Because if I do, they're going to pressure me. They're going to put me under scrutiny. They're going to, all these things they're going to do. All right.
But I
and
will
this is
say,
the problem.
I will say, Umar, I know we have to jump off very quickly, but you know that one of your countrymen who served in the Trump cabinet, who served in the Trump administration. I'm not going to call any name because I've had him on one or two shows that we've done at the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm trying to see if we can ever get him back in, that he can touch on some of these things. But you know, one of your countrymen who was on the medical grouping with Donald Trump, and he warned him, and he ignored the Trinidadian. He ignored the Trinidadian, went with the American Fauci, accepted everything Fauci said, hook, line, and sinker, ignored what your fellow Trinidadian told him, which is now borne out to have been the truth.
Exactly.
So you're absolutely correct that we have the expertise in the Caribbean. We have them here in the Caribbean.
Well, we can probably have him on the program at some point in time. I could make contact with him.
I will leave you because you know who I mean, and we can make a contact. He's welcome on this session that I'm on.
We do share correspondence often, and he did, express his interest to assist us in whatever way he can, even if he has to go in court with an expert witness. You understand? So the thing about it is that we, the people, just using the final, minutes of my time. There's so much I wanted to go into, but like I said,
don't worry, you'll be coming back. Trust me, you'll be coming back.
Right, those persons who wants to get a copy of that letter that I wrote our Prime Minister, and probably you could use it as a template to write your own Prime Minister and ask the Prime Minister to report themselves or to break away from the WHO. And I'm giving you all the reasons why.
Shoot a copy of your letter to me. I will send it on to Marcia so that persons who may want it, they know how to contact her.
I would have issued a press release, and in that press release there's a link to the LOTTA. I will send that to you. And so you'll have all the information there, and nobody don't have to go and do no research.
You've already done it. Yeah, thank you.
We did the research. Just use it as a template to write your own Prime Minister. And you better believe it. Everything in there is related to your country or your island, wherever you are, right? So you can just change the names and just send it out. You know for sure.
Lovely.
This is what has happened. All right. We've had how you put it, special information there with regards to what was done in our country, Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, that could be used because the very same approach that was used to infiltrate our country is the very same approach that's been used to infiltrate the other Caribbean islands. All right.
Right.
So warn
Right.
your prime
Thank you.
minister, warn them of this man, Tedros, this criminal. You understand?
Yes.
He has been there's been numerous allegations against him. You understand what he did in Sudan and
In
Africa and so on
Ethiopia.
and so forth. Ethiopia, yes,
Yes.
yeah, I got that wrong. Ethiopia, all right, and it's really really alarming and heart wrenching to believe or to see your prime minister who came to you on a podium when he was going up for election and asked for your vote. I'm going to take care of you. This is what I tell you, in their manifesto, right? I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to ensure that your life is this and that and the other. All the promises. And when they go into power and they go in bed with these criminals, the opposite happens. And you find yourself alone, destitute, and nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. And but there's hope. There's hope in unity.
Yes, there is. There is.
There's
There
hope in
is.
unity. Right? Don't ever feel that there's no hope. There is hope in unity, and we are going to get over this. We're going to fight this. We're going to beat it. You understand? And we're going to see and ensure that these people don't get their grips on the Caribbean region. The Caribbean region is the only region they have not been able to infiltrate the way they want to infiltrate. We're a unique group of people, and they can't control us. They can't control us, right? And we're going to step up our game continuously, every time. And we are making them out every time they come. We're making them out. We're pointing out they're calling them to account. We're doing it, right? So if it is you are too lazy to go and do the research, we're doing it for you. We're sending out a lot
Wonderful.
of information on a weekly basis, and we try to get it out as far as wide as possible. And you all could just copy from it, copy and paste, and send it out, right? Don't be afraid. The information there is correct. It's absolutely correct. All right. And anybody could call me and question me on it and debate me on it. We are ready. We are
Thank
ready
you.
and wait. All right. So
Thank
people,
you. Thank you.
I leave you all again tonight with saying to you, join the resistance. Non-compliance is the key to your happiness and your success.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Omar. You're absolutely correct. We can get more done together than we can get done individually. And I think I remember when the United States wanted to come into our Caribbean countries, you might recall, with something called the Shipwriters Agreement, that
Yeah.
they had difficulty, except that one or two countries seconded to them and permitted them to come into their waters. But I remember our Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Arthur, indicating to them, no, you can't just come in willy-nilly how you like into our sovereign waters. If you want to come into our
Yeah.
sovereign waters, you'll have to get our okay and an agreement with us. So I want to thank you, Omar. And folk, don't forget, Umar is talking about some of these things, and Dr. Corbin, Dr. Rose Corbin, I see you on. Not seeing you as clearly. Your lighting is a little off. You're far too dark. Um, we want to see your lovely face. We don't want you to talk and not see those lovely expressions that you have.
Good evening. Do hold a minute and let me attend to the lighting.
Yes, that's okay. That's fine. But Umar, we used to use something called castor oil. You remember castor oil?
Yeah.
And
And
just the
it's making a comeback, eh? It's
yeah, well,
making a comeback.
yes, I was just watching something last night on Facebook about it, and
Yeah.
the power in castor oil, and olive oil, of course, a
Yeah.
particular type of olive oil, with relationship to our health. And I am concerned. I've always been concerned because most of the time when we hear about things like diets and all that kind of stuff, they're American based, and they don't apply to the kind of food and diets and input and whatnot. We don't eat like Americans. I'm not saying that we eat the healthiest, but we don't eat like Americans. Let me take you all. One of my favorite foods, doubles. Doubles. And you know that that flour, thin flour base, curried chana, and everybody knows how good curry is for you. All right, and then they would mix
Yeah,
in the mango and tamarind in it,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and your
Natural stuff,
peppers,
natural
your
stuff.
pepper.
Let me tell
You
you,
know, we've
I tell you
huh?
something. I'll tell you something, Pastor Ferdinand. And this is something we have to be very aware of and wary of. They're going to find a way to interfere with it.
Yes,
They're going to
yes.
find a
They're gonna
way
find a way.
to those products, those trusting products that we've used over the
Yes,
years. And they're going to find a
they're
way to
gonna.
put substances in it and sell it back to us. And they
Oh
know that
wait,
we're using it, and they are going to affect us, badly with these products. And so we have to be very, very mindful of that, and we have to be
yes,
vigilant so that we can shut them down at any suspicion that we have what they're doing. We'll be able to shut them down. We have to be very careful of who we're buying these things from, where it's coming from, where it's being manufactured, how much oversight these criminal organization has over these corporations and conglomerates and manufacturers and so on. And I mean, we're hearing through the grapevine. I don't know how true it is, but they're attempting to put something in our Coca-Cola. All right, and
wouldn't
because they know
surprise
people
me in
love
the
this thing so
least.
much. Yeah, they know
Would
that.
not
They know
surprise me in the
the water that
least.
we drink. The water that we drink, there's attempts to put fluoride in the water. All right,
Well, we'll be dealing
that's
with that tonight.
definitely.
We'll be dealing with that tonight in a little later on in the show.
That
But very
we're paying
quickly,
very
because I
much
see
attention to that in Trinidad and Tobago. There has been some talk about it, but we're not going to allow that to happen. All right, we're not going to allow that
absolutely.
to happen. So, all right.
You know what I just saw today, Umar, and I was just looking to see if I could have found the video again. Do you know Mexico has just banned the importation of corn from the United States for two reasons. One, to enhance the production of corn in Mexico, and two, because they have discovered the GMO modification of corn that is affecting their
Right.
people. So they banned the importation of corn from the United States. I
Good
saw that
job.
just
Good job.
today,
Hats
just
off to
today.
the Mexicans.
And as you
Hats
know,
off to them.
the incoming, well, I would have to call him Minister of Education, in the President Trump's cabinet, is talking about the banning of some colors and these kind of things that they don't even permit to come into Europe, and they're being used in American foods and so on. And he's about to engage it once confirmed the banning of those substances for use in the food. And where do we get quite a lot of our snacks for our children and so on from? You know, we import a lot
Yeah.
of them from the United States. So I think we are on track. And we just have to, like you said, and like I've shared with you, and you've shared with me, we just have to do it together. Rose, we're seeing your lovely face now, and the
Thank
and the
you.
and the gorgeous. Let me see those earrings again. Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely.
Locally,
Oh my
locally
good.
made herring. Locally
Sorry.
made herring. Locally
Yeah,
made herring.
they look so to me. They look like she picked them up right off of Accra Beach from one of our
Yeah.
specialists in jewelry in Barbados. Good evening, Rose, and welcome, welcome. Good to have you
Good
again.
evening. Good evening to you and Brother Umar. I have been backstage listening, so there was no need, Reverend Ferdy, to panic. I was listening from start. I'm
Uh,
waiting my turn to come on. And it's always good to be with you and with our CARICOM brother, well informed, well researched, passionate about us as a people in our various countries and as the Caribbean as a whole. And I'm pleased to be here. May I greet the audience as I usually do. Good evening, loyal sons and
sons and
daughters,
daughters
all
all.
firm craftsmen of and women of our faith. such a delight to be with you. And I want to again thank Marcia and Dave for the
Yes.
opportunity to serve in this capacity through this platform. Thank you so much. And I know that UMAR would support us again on the discussion that will follow in my segment because it concerns all. I would have sent you, Reverend Ferdy, some information via email. Did you receive them?
We did receive them, and while, if I can, and it's okay with you, Rose, while Dave, because I sent it all through to Dave,
We
but
did
while
too.
Dave, yeah, while Dave is pulling that up, I want to just quickly read an extract, a news report that was sent to me by Marcia herself, actually. And she's asked me if I would read it. So, with your kind permission, if I can take a couple of minutes out of your time, couple more minutes
Yes,
out of
please.
your time, just to read the report. It says news report, hope for 8-year-old Amia Holmes Yearwood as transplant journey progresses. On behalf of the Marcy Week Show, we bring you an update on the courageous journey of 8-year-old Amia Holmes Yearwood, a young Barbadian girl battling the life-threatening liver disease, biliary atresia. I hope I have these words pronounced correctly. This rare condition has left Anya in urgent need of a life-saving liver transplant, but thanks to incredible community support and remarkable medical advancements, there is hope on the horizon. In a breakthrough moment, it was confirmed that Amya's father is a universal donor with blood type O+, and a match for Amya's B+ blood type. The out-of-country hospital, collaborating with the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Fundación Santa Fe de Bogota in Colombia. Now you can tell I'm biting my Spanish tongue here, where Amya's surgery is set to take place. However, the Colombian surgical team has requested a backup donor with blood B plus as a precaution in case Amya's body rejects her father's liver. This past Monday, Amia's eldest sister underwent blood work to determine if she could serve as a backup donor. The family is anxiously awaiting the results, which could provide another layer of security in this life saving mission. Dr. Brown Farmer, the head of Amia's medical team in Barbados, has assured the family that there are no financial obstacles from the QEH regarding the surgery, thank God. The hospital will cover the full cost of the transplant, including return airfare, medical tests, surgery, and treatment in Colombia. Can you say, I know in our terminology, Rose, we'll say, hallelujah.
And amen.
Amen. Such is let me get back here. If a backup donor is needed, these costs will also be covered. However, there are additional costs related to Amnia's care and recovery that need community support. Donations will help cover pre and post surgery expenses in Barbados, such as transportation to clinical appointments, travel necessities, and medications. After surgery, Amia will require lifelong medication to prevent her body from rejecting the liver. We also take this opportunity to extend heartfelt gratitude to the Marcia Week Show and its incredible viewers for their unwavering support, from the fundraisers at Coffee's, where we held the event for her to raise awareness locally and internationally, to private donations of gifts, clothing, vitamins, and more. This support has been instrumental in Amia's journey. Every act of kindness has brought Amnia one step closer to a healthier life. Together, we are creating a miracle for those wishing to contribute to Amnia's continued care. Donations are still being accepted. Let's keep the momentum going and give this brave little girl a fighting chance she deserves. Now, there is I think that is, let me just look back here quickly. I will read this other one that I have here between your time and Pastor Apostle Lucille Beards, but let you go into your segment, Rose.
Thank you very much. I was following you from my device too on that one. I'm very pleased to hear of the progress and what advocacy can do. Now we are getting the support through the government, through QEH, for that brave little girl's surgery in Colombia.
Yes.
Thank you very much, the Marcia Week Show and the supporters. Thank you. Now, my segment is titled Tired of the LOTTA Long Talk. And I am going to trace a LOTTA Long Talk where it concerns crime. You know, last week I would have shared on the Prime Minister's comments, assertion, confidently expressed to the press on CARICOM's position, where she incorrectly would say described crime and violence as a health disease. And we debunked that. And we said it's not a disease like all the other diseases identified, but it is indeed, we could say, a social health issue because of the impact it has on society and the individual's health, as well as the health of the community, the family, the community, and the society at large. But why I am speaking about the LOTTA Long Talk, I found it necessary to trace where all this discussion and this paradigm now in which crime is being located, or the new paradigm, where it began for us as a people in Barbados and a people in the Caribbean, in CARICOM community. So I am going to ask that we pull up that Word document. Do you have it, Pastor Ferdy?
That is in Dave's hands. So Dave, that Word document that you would have received, I think it's coming up.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
Pastor
it's coming
Ferdy, I do know you have the voice of an announcer. And, and this is I'm going to trace from 2023 until current what CARICOM has been saying on crime and violence in the Caribbean. And I ask you, Pastor Ferdy, and our dear brother UMAR, as well as the audience, to look to see the swing from 2023 until now amongst the CARICOM leaders and the declarations or statements they would have given from 2023 until now on crime and violence. So this is the declaration which would have been the first given in 2023 April in your own country, Brother UMAR. This was made by the heads of government, where crime and violence was presented, and we say crime and violence as a single entity was presented as a public issue. Could you read for us? It's a 3-minute read, so it's not that long, but I want it to be read so that we, the panelists and the audience, could trace the development. Please, Pastor Ferdy.
Certainly. Declaration by heads of government on crime and violence as a public health issue, April the 18th, 2023, in Trinidad and Tobago. We, the heads of government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, meeting in Port-of-Spain, Trinidad and Tobago on April the 17th to the 18th, 2023, on the occasion of the Regional Symposium to address crime and violence as a public health issue. Alarmed by the epidemic of crime and violence in the Caribbean, fueled by illegal guns and organized criminal gangs as a threat to our democracy and the stability of our societies.
Pause a minute, Reverend Ferdy.
Yes, ma'am.
What has it been described as? An epidemic. And what has fueled it? Illegal guns and organized criminal gangs. They said it. We didn't. We know it's that. They said it as a threat to our democracy and the stability of our societies. Lot of long talk. Keep going.
Cognizant of its cost to our social, economic, and health systems, determined to ensure that our people of the Caribbean can exist in an environment of peace and safety. Seized of the urgent need to reverse the normalization of violence in social interaction and to restore the bonds of social solidarity. Convinced that the multifaceted nature of violent crime and its pervasive effects require a robust regional response that includes a public health approach, which is an all of society strategy, including family, church, academia, culture, and sports personality, minority political parties, and wider civil society is urgently required.
Notice that.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
minute, notice that they are talking about a robust regional response. Don't we want a robust national response also? And are we getting that? And here they are talking about the involvement of minority political parties and wider civil society. However, when the minority political parties seek to participate, we, and I call ourselves that because we are a political body here, not a political party, but a political body, non-partisan. When we seek to speak out about crime and violence and the origin of the same, we are deemed as hysterical and we are deemed as not supportive of government, creating alarm where alarm is. Is that not so, Pastor Ferdy?
Yes.
Is
yes.
that not so, UMAR? But here, at that level, where they are quick to come up with a narrative, where they are quick to write these declarations, here they want the involvement and engagement of minority political parties and wider civil society. Keep going for us.
Convinced that the multifaceted nature of violent crime and its pervasive effects require a robust regional response that includes a public health approach, which is all of civil society, including family, church, academia, cultural and sports personalities, minority political parties, and wider civil society is urgently required. acknowledge the concerns of the people of the region that there is a tilting of the balance between the rights of the individual and the public safety interests of the whole society, which is having a debilitating effect on the rights of the community to live in peaceful societies, particularly given the trend for persons on murder charges to be granted bail.
Keep
Deeply
going.
concerned at the high rate of illegal exportation of guns from the United States of America to the Caribbean region, and recalling, let me get this right, the region's strong and enduring investments to support the United States in its war on drugs, and given our observation that the gun has become the new drug, as articulated in our separate 18th of April 2023 declaration, we call on the United States of America to reciprocate and join the Caribbean in its war on guns.
Go back up there, Pastor Ferdy.
Mhm.
We did not say it. Brother Omar, we did not say it. I have not said it. They said it. What they call it, they said that the gun has become the new
drug.
They have also go to the one before that.
Where it
Stop
says
there. We
deeply
are
concerns.
deeply concerned about the high rate of illegal exportation of guns from the United States of America to the Caribbean region. Is that indicating to us that they know where the guns are coming from?
Well, it certainly would.
Would it not indicate to us that they know that they're coming from the United States of America to the Caribbean region? How do they get there? I don't bring them in my suitcase. You just came back from Washington, D.C. In December or November. Did you bring any in your suitcase?
No, ma'am. Not even mock ones.
Did the delegations bring any in, the members?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
This declaration in Trinidad and Tobago last year, April 2023, voiced and scribed by the CARICOM leaders, identify that they are deeply concerned at the high rate of illegal exportation of guns from the United States of America to the Caribbean region, and that guns have become the new drug. Continue reading for me, please. Thank you.
We agree to strengthen the development of security as a fourth pillar of the community so that collectively we can better address the extraterritorial threats to citizen security, including strengthening the capacity of the community's security and justice agencies to adopt and implement a public health approach. We, the heads, will undertake comprehensive overhaul of the criminal justice system to address criminal terrorists with a focus on proactive management of prosecutions, sentencing, and the diversion of young people at risk. Strengthen regional forensic capabilities and collaboration among national forensic agencies with a view to improving the quality of evidence and speed the conduct of trials. Prepare regional model legislation to bring greater harmonization and efficiency to the development and revision of national laws. Immediately and effectively implement the CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty. Augment the jurisdiction of judges, of magistrates, the consideration of defendants' options to judge only trials, and the intra-regional rotation of judges and magistrates to admit or foster their greater exposure. Strengthen the capacity of the Regional Intelligence Fusion Center to deliver its mandate through development of agreed protocols for data sharing among member states, reform our education systems to empower our citizens and better enable their socio-emotional development in recognition that the social and emotional learning of the child is as important as technical and academic achievements, agree to ban assault weapons in the region except for security forces and sporting competitions.
You
Agree
hear
to
that one? Has that
yes, ma'am.
happened? Go
No,
on.
ma'am. Agree to stand with Mexico on its legal action against U.S. gun manufacturers and retailers. Establish an entity under impacts to assist in the containment of corruption and financial crimes, including money laundering and cyber crimes, through greater collaboration to harmonize related legislation and operational processes, empower and engage young people as positive content developers to offset the negative impact of social media, and engage with the creative industries to re-engineering cultural acceptable norms, promote public awareness and education campaigns in our communities that challenge harmful beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that contribute to crime and violence, work with all sectors and institutions to improve the equitable access to services and options for rehabilitation and reintegration into society, psychosocial support and parental education, addressing domestic violence and integrating mental issues to treat with crime and violence, develop and implement targeted programs and strategies to address young vulnerable youth at risk of becoming perpetrators and victims of crime, appoint an eminent person to lead and advise heads and the Secretariat on further strategies and reforms and on effectively operationalizing the decisions of heads issued by the heads of government of the Caribbean Community CARICOM in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday, the 18th of April at the Regional Symposium on Crime and Violence.
That was in 2023. I would ask our audience, those who are interested in researching and identifying trends and analyzing, if they can visit that declaration of 2023, April 2023, and do a check-off list for us and advise us if these things that they have made these declarations on, how many of them have been achieved, how many of them have been implemented. Because from various standing, I have and sitting, I am seeing a recooking, a warming up of these same things right here as recent as 2024. I don't know if we have time. I have a few more to share with you. Could we quickly look at...
I am going to let you hold on those others that you have to share. I know there are those who would think or who would say that we need to give you some more time, but I am going to engage that in another program if I can, if that's okay with you, because I do have our next guest lined up and they have a very tight time. They have a very tight time available for us. So maybe I can come back to it later, Rose, if that's okay with you.
Yes,
I
please.
can probably come back during or right after KEMAR is going to be joining us around 9. But I do have Apostle Lucille and Reverend Gail Price in the room because we also want to look at, because you'll remember in the presentation you just made, Rose, they mentioned the matter of the church's involvement and the community and the minority political parties. And I know that Gail and Reverend Gail and Apostle Lucille have been listening to what you've been sharing. So I'm going to bring in Apostle and welcome her to the show tonight. Good evening, Apostle Lucille. A joy to have you with us again tonight. You are muted. You are muted.
Good evening.
Good evening. And let me bring
Good evening,
Reverend Gail
everyone.
in as well. Good evening,
Good
Reverend
evening.
Gail. A
Good
pleasure
evening.
to have you with us again this evening
Thank you
as
so
well.
much for having us again. God bless you. Good evening to the
Thank you
panel.
so much. As you know, one of the criticisms, and I believe I mentioned it last week, is that the church, where's the church? People are always asking, where's the church? Whenever something happens, where's the church? What's the church doing? And I know that many church leaders are doing things in their own right, in their own spaces. They are not having the PR, so to speak. You know, the is not coming out. CBC is not there when they do it, and these kind of things. But I've always felt that the church has a role to play in what we are doing. And seeing what you guys have been involved in over the past couple of weeks and what I think you're getting ready to do again tomorrow,
Yeah,
I think you
please.
mentioned.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Um, I wanted to get some input from your perspective as to what you believe the church could do to contribute to the dilemma that we have. And I know very often when we talk about the church, you know, we're always talking about the spiritual things, the intercession, critical, the preaching, the Sunday schools, and all these kind of things. But I'm just wondering what other activities, what other roles can in your view can the church play in attempting to assist in its community with dealing with these matters of crime, violence, gun violence, that type of thing.
Let me say good night again, but this time I want to greet all of those that are viewing, and I want to wish you, a very pleasant night and God's best for 2025 and beyond. Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand, for having us back on. I thought that we did not get to say all we wanted to say, and I didn't say that to you, but you initiated this return, and I thank you so much. No, I'm here to have, I don't pick up noise with anybody. I just like to do my job and do it as quietly as possible. And we've done most of our work under the radar. We're only highlighting what we're doing now because we are celebrating our 30th anniversary. You're asking what the church can do and how the church can help in terms of helping the government. But I want to say this up front. It might spark some concerns or criticism. I want to say this up front. The work that I've done in Gold Hill was known. It was all over the paper for weeks. Because once I went into Gold Hill and the young guys and the gangs laid down their guns, it had a domino effect. And it trickled throughout the whole community. Parish land guys said, if they can, lay down their arms, we can do the same. And then the guys from Silver Hill. So it was a domino effect. And then from there, we've been to several countries, several communities. Reverend Gail is in Eden Lodge, and she's been there for almost 20 years in Eden Lodge. And we have several members that came out of Eden Lodge that are still in our church. We have work in Deacon's Farm. Reverend Elvis is there. We have a work in New Orleans, Chapman Lane. And each time we've gone in there, we've worked with the community centers because we have to every year renew the community center so we can have usage of it for our programs and so on. Sometimes we get it easily. Sometimes we have to kind of push our way through. We have to pay for the insurance every year to renew the use of the community centers and so on. At no time, and we've not celebrated 30 years, and this is the fact. At no time has there been anyone from government that would have approached us and said to us, Reverend Baird, we're seeing you out there, and you've been there consistently working and getting results. We're working with the young men in the block, in the communities, and the young people, not just the young men that are on the blocks, because I believe in not just targeting the young men. When we go into the neighborhoods, we target the next generation. Yesterday, we had a young lady who testified. When we went to Gold Hill, she was 9 years old. She's now married and in church with her children. So we target the next generation as well, and so on. No one has ever once approached us and said, how can we help you to get the job done that you're doing? How can we help to finance? We're not a church that have rich millionaires and people with doctors and all those people that are coming in. We do have doctors in the church, but we don't pull the kind of money that people would want us to pull out or expect us to pull. And so, and what we do, we be serving our church, we serving complimentary meals every Sunday after church for the last 32 years. Don't forget, I've been pastoring for over 40 years, 41 years, and it was on another organization. So we've been serving free meals for 32 years, even though my ministry is 30 years. We don't get any support, don't donors, no sponsorship. And we've done that. So we're doing the work. And God has given us what it takes to get the job done because our heart is in it. Right? And then you look in the papers and you see that this person is being sponsored and that person, you wonder, am I invisible? So I'm just leaving it out there. I'm not trying to pick a noise, but I need to say that because if you see someone working hard, sincerely, no games or no drama, just getting the job done, the government should recognize after over 30 years, maybe we could help. Maybe you can see how we can assist. You may not be able to give money, but at least help us to get whatever it is, assistance, training, skilled persons, whatever, sometimes we need counselors, we need all of those things. We have a program called the VIP program. It's Value Impacting Peers. And we go into the school. I started off when I was on the board at CORBIN Parry. I served 3 terms at CORBIN Parry, and a term is 2 years. So I served 6 years. And so I was able to really use the program there to help a lot. Kids that were suspended or was about to be expelled. We would take them under that program, train them at our church at night, because the workers have to come home. We don't have workers that are off, like we can pay them during the day. So we will have them to come at night after work, pay them, and not pay them, but at least lose a stipend because they're volunteers. Make sandwiches and drink and all that. And the parents would come. We include the parents because once we have finished working with the young men, we don't want to send them back into the same household where the parents are ignorant of what we've done. They're not aware, and they could probably, override, or cause some damage when we have repaired, a lot of things that were done in the lives of the students. We did that program for 7 years, and we finance it ourselves. We would take those same students into the prison, and let them see and get the experience of being in cells. And the prison officers, they would work with me. They'll put them in the cell and close the door. And a former teacher from CORBIN Parry called me up something last year. He said, Reverend, where is that program still going? Because I met a young man who went through the program, and he said it changed my life. When he went into the prison and was put in the cell, it's like tough love, really working for those students. So, but you have to have finances to keep that program. And also, if I could have received assistance with counselors, persons that would come in and help with the work, they would have been able to go to other schools. But I was also asked to come to several other schools, but I couldn't extend the program because I didn't have the workers. So you see, it's not about money alone with Dr. Ferdinand. It's about assistance. It's about giving me the resources that I need to get the job done because I'm doing it. The evidence is there. So if you're asking me what we're doing, we don't wait until you hear people are killing themselves. The guys are shooting up the place. We work at the stage to do preventative work to prevent what you're seeing now from happening. And if you if the government can look at those kind of programs and see how they can embrace those programs or work with churches that are conducting those programs, it will go a long way. Rather than waiting until we're hearing this next statistic, somebody is being shot up and going after the guys, putting them in prison and so on. Work to prevent this chaos and the murders from taking place. We need to do that and work with those that are working and don't ignore them. I know the churches are doing, many churches across Barbados are doing work. It may not, they're not showed abroad, but churches are working. What I think is important is that the churches begin to become unified in their programs. Unified. Let's work together. Let me share your ideas and you share my ideas. If you have the resources that I need, send your resources over to me so that I can have as much help that I need so that my programs don't have to come to a standstill. So we need to become unified. But the church is working. It's just that the church is not given the place where she should be given in terms of, help, resources, assistance, and so on. Other persons too. In culture, all of those persons in culture are given subsidies and assistance, but the church is never given because the church is seen as though they get big offerings. That's not really true. Churches are struggling, and some churches are struggling since we had the pandemic. And a lot of the programs are put on hold because I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, and you would agree with what I'm saying. The church is doing a good job. We can do better. Always we can do better. When I was a little girl in primary school, I learned that poem, good, better, best. Never let it rest until
your good is better and your better best.
So we can always do better and best. Yes. So there's a lot that we can improve on. But there are churches up there with pastors who have a passion to see Barbados change, to see the young men change and their lives converted. And I want to say this as well, because Dr. Ferdinand, you are a pastor like me. You know that a lot of the problems, the deep-seated problems the young men have, are not just social problems, but spiritual problems too. And that's what the church needs to use the power that she has to go there and break chains. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They think when the Minister of Education, what was his name at the time, said that, man, if you have people have demons, they almost crucified him. You remember that Minister of Education?
Yeah.
Jones said,
Ronald Jones.
Yeah, but we have to look at breaking chains, and the church has been empowered. God has given us power to work with them where there are problems that we need to have things broken over their lives, ancestral curses, and different things that are bothering them that they can't seem to be able to function properly. The church has got the resources and the power to break the chains from the lives of those young men and young women, and we got to do it. And not be ashamed to do it. And not to feel as though somebody's going to talk about you or criticize you. That's what Jesus gave us the power for. He anointed us for that. And he said, give you power over demons and devils, to cast out devils and all of that. That's why he gave us power. Not to look pretty and be charismatic and say, I preach a good sermon, but to break chains. And we need to get into the society, into the communities and break the chains from those persons that that are bound and chained. I've gone as far as taking people into my home to live. I remember going down to Bridgetown, to the Central Police Station, and taking an ex-inmate out of the cell, asking Commissioner Orville to hand him over to me. His family told me what was happening. And I brought him out of that cell, straight to my home. And I sat him down. David, he was 24 years old. I said, David, my home is your home. Here's the keys to my house. See the fridge? Whatever's in my fridge is yours. See the cupboard? Access to everything. I never told him that he had to be a Christian to live in my house. Me looking back on it now, people would say it's a waste. My daughter was 10 and my son was 11. And he wasn't a Christian. And so I told him, whatever we have, we'll share with you. He was a joiner. He learned joinery in prison. And I was at the time repairing building my kitchen cupboards. And I told him to give me an estimate for the job. And he did. And I paid him every cent that he charged me. Remember, he was living at me rent-free, not paying anything, buying food, nothing. But I did that because I wanted him to get a start. You know what he asked me when I told him, my house is yours, and that means, what do you want from me? The people are so accustomed that when you do good for them, when you're kind to them, that you have an agenda, that you want something. Everybody don't want don't have an agenda. Everybody don't want something from somebody. There are people that God has called that are genuine, they have the heart of God, the Spirit of God, the compassion of the Holy Spirit. And all they want to do is to see people's lives change for the better. All they want to do is to break the curses off of people and give them a second chance at life. I told him, I don't want nothing from you, buddy. I just took you out of a cell. What do I want from you? I want to help you and give you a second chance. He came to me about 3-4 weeks after he was living there. And he said, what is it that you all have? I want it because I can see how you all get along, you and your children and your husband and so on. I said, you know what it is that we have? It's Jesus. That's what we have.
Yes.
Jesus. And
What
he
a
gave
difference.
his life to the Lord. I never put conditions on him to live in my house. I was prepared to go to the place where I had to bring him into my house to save him from destruction, save him from, going down a road where he perhaps would never have come back. And I did that, and he got saved.
My
And
God.
then I got a job for him in a joinery shop. Mr. Charles Jordan had a joinery place in Westmoreland, and I got a job for him there. And somebody came and saw the work that he liked and liked how he worked and took him overseas and so on. I believe that we can do all we can. We can do more to save a soul, to change a life. And of course, we have a history, my church, of going into those areas that nobody wants to go into, that they're afraid to go into. When I went to Gall Hill with all the shooting and so on, the guys asked me, "Aren't you afraid of me? People are afraid to come in here. Why are you afraid of me?" I asked them, "Aren't you afraid of me?" So they said, "Why should we be afraid of you?" That's because what I have in me is more powerful than what you got in your pocket. So we mustn't be terrorized and intimidated by the enemy, but these youngsters with guns. I'm not saying we must go and throw ourselves in these arenas stupidly to get ourselves hurt. But if God is sending us, he said we have
He will
power.
protect you.
Yeah, we have power to drink poison and it won't harm us, to pick up serpents. Those are certain things spirits you're dealing with. God wants us to go in there. And if that's my calling, when I look around at my ministry for the last 30 years, most of my ministry has been in those areas. And I will give her a chance to share because she has all of she's my associate pastor, secretary, administrator, prophet.
She's the what, jack of all trades and master of none person.
I will not receive that. I will not receive that. I send that back.
As again, I'm going to let you speak in a moment. But as you were sharing, a couple of things went through my mind, Lucille. One has to do with government's priorities.
Yeah.
You mentioned how you did all that you did, but no one from government ever came to you and said, we see what you're doing, what can we help do or whatever.
Never.
But they can find $5 million to refurbish Oystons, which is a building.
Yeah.
I mean, what is more valuable to you? The lives of the men and women in Gall Hill and up in Oystons and wherever is that are dying daily? Yes. Or a tent cover in Oystons. And so I think this treats to the matter of the priorities of government.
Of course.
And then you mentioned the aspect of deliverance. I call it deliverance. That's what we call it in our circle. But many people fail to realize a lot of these strongholds that develop in children's lives as they're growing up because of the exposure in their homes and communities and so on, how they're treated, how they're spoken to, all of these things that need to be broken in a person's life. And some people go all the way up to adulthood. I remember a lady in our church, she was 65 years old and had just met her father for the first time at 65. So imagine the impact that has had in her life. So I just wanted to jump in with that, Gail, before you spoke.
But the church is doing a lot of work out there.
Yes, they are. They are. Go ahead, Gail.
Oh,
yes. Sorry, Omar.
I'm kind of wondering, is this deliberate on the part of government? Because we've seen the very same thing happening in Trinidad and Tobago. The churches or the entities that seem to be doing the work and getting great success with whatever little they have. Government won't ever fund them, but they find money to fund other organizations that do nothing at all. And perhaps we have to raise some concerns as regards to this. Probably perhaps those NGOs or those churches needs to come together and address government on these issues and present to government the success that you all have been having and why it is. Have not any funding come to you all when funding are going elsewhere, and point out the failure of those organizations and institutions that are getting those funding. And it brings me back to what Rose was saying earlier in that symposium, that fraud of a symposium that they had, and saying, you know, the proliferation of guns and crime and so on is a threat to our democracy. The only threat to our democracy is those very same persons who are making those utterances. They're the ones who are the threat to our democracy. They're the ones who are allowing these guns to come into our, you know, through our borders. They're the ones who are deliberately, as the pastor would have said, not paying attention to the humans in their society, the citizens, and they're not tending to the needs of their citizens. And obviously, when you don't do that, your citizens are going to find a way to fix themselves, right? To feed themselves and to become what they want to become. But if you treat your citizens in a manner in which that they're deserving to be treated, you won't find these things happening because they've been well kept, they've been taken care of. And it perhaps might be, I don't know, I'm saying it here tonight, it's a deliberate attempt by government to do this because they just don't want to see our society become better. They want to see our society continue to go down and become disruptive and all of that, so they can come now and say that crime is a health issue.
Is a
So that
health
when they
issue.
have the
Yes.
emergency, the public health emergency, they will add crime to it, and they will have a further grasp on the people and to take control of them and to
Another
to do what they want to do.
another shutdown and that type of thing. Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes. Very, very much the case. Reverend Gail.
Yes, please. Good night once again. Thank you, Pastor Ferdy. I am the jack of all trades and master in every
Of
trade.
everything.
As the Lord would lead
Eh,
and as I would follow him. Praise God. Um, I wanted, as I was listening to Apostle, I sat and I recognized that for 30 years, we are a community church. And for 30 years, we have touched Barbados in a very tangible way. And I do agree that we've had not just the VIP programs, that we've had many other programs to change the lives of young people. We recognize that if we capture the young, that we're able to turn the tides. And one of the things about the VIP program is that there were people, if I believe Apostle Lucille will remember, there was a particular institute that when they read what we were doing, they actually offered scholarships to
Yes.
these young, and some of them that did not yet get their CXCs, they were able to go in there free of cost and do that. They were able to get a skill like barbering and all of that. And because we were able to tap into those young men and their parents, and to me that was a very pivotal area of that particular program, whereby it was not just talking to the young men, but at the same time we had counselors, some of our members, talking, chatting with the parents and hearing their felt needs. And that was important because then after the young men came out of the program, the parents understood a little better what was needed to help them through their process. And we even had a graduation, and there were success stories as far as we're concerned. We also have farming project that we have going, and they had a lot of young men from Chapman Lane that Pastor Alexander, he took them onto our farm for a few weeks to teach them that. So for us as a ministry, our whole goal is the holistic man. A lot of churches sometimes when you talk holistic, they think about new age, but the holistic man, we are tripartite. We are body, soul, spirit. It's not just the spirit that we feed, but we also have to get to the emotional part, and we also have to get to the physical and social part of any being. And that is something that Mount Zion Mission strives to do all the time. We have a young man from Chapman Lane right now that he has gotten so very serious for the Lord, and he is a great product and an example of Apostle Lucille touching not just society, but even within the prison, and out of that, children being affected in a positive way. And I believe that, as we said, the church is not silent. I literally do not like to see when people say, what are the churches doing? We have always been here. We've always been doing the work. We don't just preach the gospel. We don't just share out tracts, but we meet people at their felt needs. There are many churches, as Apostle Lucille said, who are going out there and quietly serving their communities.
Yes, yes.
Quietly meeting the families, because if you can touch a child and touch a family, then you touch society. And you're able to change the tides. And we as a church, we are change agents, and we are ready to do that. So not only does government have to recognize that and buy into it, but also the society must buy into the fact that the church is still doing what they have to do. For next month, tomorrow is the last of our bus rides. Next month now, for February, we are going to go to every single parish, and that is 11 parishes in this island, that we have ever had a crusade, we've ever had a spot meeting where we have our outreach programs. We are going to go for the entire month of February and go back to those areas, speak to people, dialogue with them, befriend them, cause them to know that we are still here. We are here not just to pray with you, but to see what are your needs and how we can help. And that is important. And most importantly is that when we go with the power, we go with the authority of God. Because it's not just, as y'all said, it's not just the physical side of it, but it's the deep-rooted behavior that we know that is spiritual.
Yes,
so as we
yes.
take the territory, we take the authority over that place. And I believe strongly that the church is about to rise in a greater measure. Just last night, somebody messaged a member and said, I saw what your pastor is doing. That is a minister, I believe. And they said, I'm buying into what she has done, and I'm going to start to get up and get out even more into the communities. When I heard that, I was like, wow, this is
Inspired.
it. We are going to
Inspiring.
have to inspire each other, empower each other, come alongside each other, and unify as a body of believers in this locale and do what God has called us to do. Touch the lives of young people, touch the lives of families. We will touch the lives of society and change the tide, one family at a time. And that is how I believe it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Ferdinand, we are so serious about what we're doing now. Even during the COVID shutdown, we got 10 emergency passes, so we can still go out there and minister to our people.
Yes.
We never stop ministering because we serve our senior citizens.
Yeah, likewise, we got some of them as well. Yes, we went out, and I mean, people don't realize that daily, every day, churches are helping people pay electric bills, put food on their table, diapers for mummies, and you know, yes. A lot of them are doing it, and to be honest, you know, we have often probably not benefited because and when I say not benefited, you know, there's that saying in the scripture, I think, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And as a result of that, people don't know what the church is doing in the community. And I believe there is a sense in which we do need to let the people know what we're doing, not because we want accolades or anything of the sort, but so that people can realize, because many of the people we are helping, let me say it as I'm thinking it, they're embarrassed to let people know that they're being helped, even at the lower level.
Sure,
you know, the very poor people, it's not something that makes you proud, you know, where you have to be looking to somebody. And some of the people, you all, I'm sure, will admit, come from some of the locations that people would least expect to hear they need any help. You
So,
know, we would think because they have a mortgage and they're working here or working there, they don't need help. But some of them are the very sad same people that
sure.
come to us for help. And so I really want to commend you and your entire ministry on the work that you're doing for the people of the country, not just for your community or a community here or there, but for the people of Barbados. And as you were speaking, you know, the thought went through my mind because I'm going to be seeing him next week. But I thought, you know, we know Mark Hill. I'm sure you know Mark Hill from the BIDC, Barbados
Yes,
Industrial
yes, I do.
Development Export Division. And I thought, you know, wouldn't it be, because many of the people sitting in our churches are entrepreneurs trying to do small businesses,
Yes,
trying to build small businesses and so on. And the BIDC does facilitate that aspect. And I think it would be a great synergy between the BIDC and the Unified Church. That is a very important phrase you use,
yeah,
the Unified Church, to come together where some of the young people who can't get financing to do a little business and so on, because the banks do not finance startup businesses. That's a fact. And so it would be great because our churches could become like a pool of business for many of these young people who are sitting in our churches with an idea, with a dream, but they just don't know how to
yes.
bring that to a reality. And they feel that, you know, if I go somewhere and I tell anybody what I want to do, they're going to take my idea and they're going to run with it, and I'm not going to be able. That's the reality that
Yeah.
many of them have encountered going to the bank and speaking, well, to the financial institutions, let me say, and sharing the idea with them. So I really want to thank you all. I know you have a heavy day tomorrow again, and I
Yes,
know you're
please.
going to have to jump off,
We
but I
have to
want
get
to
the bus
thank
in.
you.
We have to go early. I have to do ministry first and then get the
Yes.
bus. I want to just say something to whoever. Gail sat next to someone in the bus last week,
Mhm.
and the lady said she only had one bus fare, and she said, "I'm going to leave home. I don't know how I'm going to get back, but I feel like something's going to work out." And so when she got in the bus and she was told, "You don't have to pay today. We're paying, you know, for
Mhm.
30
Oh,
persons."
wow. Oh,
She
wow.
knew that was the Lord. And several people
Wow.
said it was such a blessing to get on the bus and not have to pay bus fare.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah,
And especially now that I hear there's talk now with the minibus guys trying to get the government to do away with cash because of a couple of instances that have
yeah,
happened over the weekend.
sure.
You know, I really want to commend you guys. You know, I haven't had a lot of time to sit with you on a personal basis. You know, I've been in and out the country between here
You
in
should get on
Cayman.
the bus tomorrow. Sam, we're
Yeah.
going to St. Lawrence Castle.
Well, if I could get
Thank
if I
God.
could get somebody to drop off all my grands and my daughter, I would be happy to do that. But really, somebody is saying here in the chat, this is awesome. And I can't think of a better word to describe it. And I want to thank you for taking the time in what you're doing, in the busy schedule that you have, to come on and share with us in spite of the fact that you have such a heavy day tomorrow. So
Yes, please.
I appreciate you so very much. And
Appreciate you
this
too.
is not the end of our conversation. I just want you to know that because I believe that there's a lot more that people need to hear, a lot more ideas, because we are trying to provide solutions on this show. And as a result of that, I'm sure there are other things that you can bring to the table that would assist many people, not just the churches, but people who would be looking on, maybe in their little communities or whatever, may be able then to reach out to you, just like how we made the connection with you and the folk from the Bronx, you know, reach out to you
Yes, please.
for the help. So I want to thank you so very much, Apostle Lucille and
I want to
Reverend
thank you
Gail,
too. Yes.
for
And I also
coming.
want to say thanks to, I want to thank the Lord for Miss Marcia Weeks and Dave
Yes,
for this
yes,
program and their
yes,
consistency in dealing with issues and being bold and brave and unafraid and
yes,
feisty like me. You know, to say it and call it what it is, call it out.
yes,
This country needs people, more people like that will not sit back and take stuff,
yes,
but will face,
yes,
confront whatever is not going well and say this has got to stop. You
yes,
know,
Yeah.
yes,
we don't have an
absolutely.
opposition. So in the absence of opposition, we need programs like this where people can talk and get a chance to speak their minds. So I bless
Yes,
it
Bring
and
light.
I ask the Lord to cause it to succeed and
thank
In
you.
Jesus'
expand it, you know, in a greater way in Jesus' name.
Thank you so
Amen.
very much, Apostle, and we appreciate your blessing to the show. And indeed, I'm sure Marcy and Dave, I know Dave is hearing because he's doing all the background work for me tonight. And I'm sure Marcy is watching, is watching the show. So on behalf of them, I just want to say thank you so very much. And thank you for taking the time being with us
And
tonight.
bless
God
all
bless you.
listeners in Jesus' name.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Wow.
having us.
You're more than
Blessing.
welcome. Anytime. We'll stay in touch. We'll stay in touch.
Yes, please.
Amen. God bless you guys.
Bless you
Thank
God
too.
you
bless
so
you.
much.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you. Wow, that's tremendous. Rose, I see you're back, and I see KEMAR is there. I'm going to bring him in. He has quite a bit to share tonight as well, and hopefully we can come back to what you were sharing earlier. I might have to think, Omar, of cutting back how many people I have on the show and increasing the number of minutes I have with each one of you. there's just so much to unpack, and all of it is so valuable and instructive and informative. It's just amazing. Thank you so very much. Well, KEMAR, I see you are there. I don't know if you're picking us up. I can see that wonderful, handsome picture of you with your hand below your chin. Good evening. Yes, good evening and welcome. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening to you, Rose. Always here. Glad to be here with you. Good night to Umar. Always a pleasure to be on with you on CARICOM Mondays. And Ferdy, pleasure, to sit with you as usual. And good night to all of the members of the Loyal Opposition. Pleasure to be with you. Special good night to Marcia and Dave, all the way in Kenya, watching. I saw what they were doing, loving it. Just good night to them, Caswell, Maxine,
Yes.
Clement, and all the other hosts. Yeah. Over to you, Freddie.
Well, no, over to you, sir, because I know you have a lot to share with us tonight. Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to open the gate and let you go.
Yeah. Well, if you have the video,
Yes, that video that you shared, yeah, Dave does have it. Dave, that video that we sent to you for KEMAR, I believe he wants us to run it. So you can go right ahead with that video, sir, right away. Thank you so much.
yeah.
I think it'll be coming up shortly.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, Dave puts the video. The video is about Barbados' water quality and how Barbados is what's that?
Okay, there it comes. Wonderful. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Dave. Let it run. Let it run.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I am KEMAR Stewart. I saw a notice came out recently about further water woes in Barbados. Now, Barbados has some of the best quality drinking water in the world. So much so that you can go to the pipe and drink water directly from the tap. Now, that privilege is under threat as we speak in 2025. As recent groundwater testing by the Environmental Protection Department of Barbados revealed that Barbados has violated and exceeded the safety guide limits and standards at various water pumping stations across this island. And that is according to World Health Organization guidelines on drinking quality water. The official notice was served to the government of Barbados after these groundwater tests were completed at the different water stations across the island. They tested for chlorine levels, chloride levels, fecal coliform, and other fecal substance, which would have given them a measure of sewage contamination in the water streams of Barbados. The pumping stations where these excessive discoveries were made have been identified as Bomiston, the Vim, Villa Marie, Allendale, Groves, Waterford, Constant, Carrington, Bend Spring, New Markets, Ashton Hall, and the Bell Pumping Station. Now, with plans in place set for Barbados to build a water reuse plant using a $600 million debt for nature swap at the South Coast Sewage Plant, which involves piping treated sewage water into the groundwater aquifers. These troubling discoveries about the quality of Barbados' drinking water and the excessive contamination should encourage the government to put a complete halt to the idea of reusing and cleaning this water and putting it into our groundwater aquifers, given the revelations of the report from the Environmental Protection Department that Barbados is in violation of the limits and standards according to quality drinking water according to the World Health Organization standards. The authorities should seek to ascertain if there is any link between the quality of drinking water and the scourge of non-communicable diseases and other health-related issues happening in Barbados. This is a serious matter, and the Ministry of Water Resources of Barbados need to address the issue and provide a comprehensive report to the nation of Barbados and Barbadians as it relates to their quality drinking water and if there are any potential threats in consumption of this water. Thank you very much. I am KEMAR Stewart.
Yes, Ferdy. So I hope you guys took a keen listen to what was said in the video. For some months now, Caswell, go ahead.
Yeah, people, is this water available already in Barbados? Are people consuming this water, from this treatment process?
Well, the process you are referring to has not been officially brought on stream with the construction of the plant. However, from this report, and the dates on the report, the presence or the excessive levels of these different bacteria, high chlorine levels, high fecal coliform, and other physical matter, was recorded, as of recent, which means that people did consume some of the water with the high levels of the bacteria in it.
So these people would have gotten sick.
Well, there's no evidence to suggest that, but I am saying, we should seek to ascertain if there is a link between the consumption of the water and the high levels of NCDs and the pressure it has on the hospitals in terms of amputation, cancers, and the growth of strange diseases, in the population.
Wow. I mean, this is amazing because you're talking about tests that revealed chlorine levels, chloride levels, fecal coliform, and fecal streptococci, which indicate a measure of sewage contamination in the water. Is this something, KEMAR, that we would have ever happened have happened here in Barbados before?
Well,
that we are aware of. That we are aware of.
Well, obviously, there will be some level of contamination that is acceptable and fit for human consumption. It will not be totally clean, but it will not have an impact on the body or the quality of the water. But when you get excessive levels, it then becomes dangerous for human consumption. So the report from the EPD said that there were also instances where the residual chlorine and chlorine levels would have been below the required amount, which means that the water was not being cleaned properly.
Right.
Enough chlorine in the thing. So that is probably the reason for these spikes in the fecal matter and spikes in, um,
Mhm.
the other tests. So I would like to know if there's been any corrective action to correct the problem, because Caswell spoke to the issue previously on the show, but I have not heard any comprehensive report or so from the government, from the Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Environment or Health, about any possible or any tests, I should say, and the result of any test which shows that there were excessive levels of foreign bacteria in the various pumping stations across the island, and there were many. Right?
How long ago you had written that letter to the authorities?
Well, the letter was submitted to the authorities in October 2024, indicating tests which were done between March 2023 and March 2024. So it was brought to the government.
No responses yet?
Well, the documents that I saw obviously were not necessarily public documents, right? But it was not public discussion that this was happening. Now,
Mhm.
it was mentioned today in a chat room. Now, if you go on the World Health Organization's website, you would see water as an issue of concern on the website. And they're saying that according to their guidelines, that the levels of contamination are not acceptable based on what they prescribe to be clean, quality drinking water, and they have a set guideline that is acceptable by member state as to what is the required practice, and Barbados does not fall above the threshold, we fall below it. Right? Now, the fact that we have this problem going on, and I made this point before, we cannot get the current water situation managed properly right now. And we cannot get it managed right now because the general manager of the Barbados Water Authority, Kifroy Alidea, was fired. And he is now the general manager at Wassa, Trinidad. But since then, we have not heard the announcement of his replacement, or who's really spearheading the Barbados Water Authority right now. So the Barbados Water Authority is like an entity floating without public leadership, right? So therefore, these issues can be addressed. So if the letter addressed the Water Authority, October 2024, I believe that Holiday was out by then, right? Who's the Minister of Water Resources? Prime Minister. So therefore, some public consultation or some public report or some public update as to the findings by the Environmental Protection Department of Barbados to be had. This equates to a public emergency. Like, this equates to a public emergency. Like, so I mentioned time and time again that water, such a precious commodity to us all, is the intended target for monetary extraction.
You did. Yes, you did.
And we're seeing it right before our eyes, where the water authority obviously intentionally destabilized because nobody forced the Parliament of Barbados to change the legislation to remove the general manager and to then hire two additional officers, which will be the chief executive officer and the chief operations officer, and still don't fill the post to allow for this transitional leadership we have spoken about. Because right now, we're in need of a transition away from contaminated water, a transition away from the fact that Claymaster admitted that the garbage and sewage tax makes $80 million on average a month. And when we repeat that, $80 million a month. Dr. Claymaster said it on Brass Stats was in debate with myself and Barry Wilkinson. And then you had instances recently where people were being overcharged for water bill.
Yes, I saw that come up with a matter in St. George, I believe it was.
Yes. And that was widespread. They only spoke about the St. George instance in the news, but that was widespread.
And didn't we, there was an article, I was just trying to find it here on my phone, but I haven't been successful as yet. But there was an article that was carried not long ago concerning dye being placed in the water by the BWA for the purpose. Can you educate us a little bit on that, KEMAR? I was just trying to find it here in my notes.
Well,
not getting my finger on it.
I don't have in-depth knowledge on
that.
The reason why I have surface level knowledge. And that surface level knowledge that is that they are putting the dye to do for tracing purposes to see the flow of the water. So they're putting the dye to see upstream to see if it comes up probably down Bridgetown or comes up somewhere else. So you could pick up different water networks and flow because you don't know where water flows, huh? You can't control the flow of water where they flow. However, the contents in the dye, and if the dye could possibly further contaminate the water, is the challenge that the public has for safety reasons, obviously. Right? And then to find out now that there are high levels of fecal matter above the required threshold, higher levels of chlorine than necessary and accepted, right? Then people are I don't know, Freddie, but they're really holding their heads in fear for their lives now. So this is similar to a situation with the jobs, right? We all need the water. We need the water to survive. So it's either. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
With the media?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Umar.
Yeah, was this issue raised with the media? Did the media take up this issue? Was it shared with the media? Was this information shared with the media?
Well, this information was made public, spoken about briefly by Caswell Franklin previously on the show. Now, the information stemmed from a letter which was leaked from the Barbados Water Authority. Right? Now, things have a habit of walking out of the BWA, include, like, for example, the flash drives with all the water, you know. So the document just happened to walk out just to hope that disappear out of the thing. So, the letter addressed to the general manager of the Water Authority from the Environmental Protection Department of Barbados, who does a routine groundwater maintenance program where they go in and they do extensive tests on the water quality to determine its fitness for consumption. And there's even videos online which has tutorials that the Water Authority put up showing you how they test the water. Now, you know, the World Health Organization has specifics for what acceptable standards for what is quality water. So I'm saying if the testing is showing. Again, who did the test? The local EPD is saying that. Why then would you seek to go ahead to build a tertiary level plant to take the sewage from the South Coast sewage plant that you're pumping out to sea right now, right? To take that water to reuse it, to put it directly into the groundwater to recharge the aquifers, where already you're experiencing signs of over contamination as it relates to fecal matter. So you're going to make the problem even worse, and then that will completely contaminate the entire uh, water supply of Barbados. But I would say that our clean water is being sold to the cruise ships and for foreign exchange, right? And we are being given the dirty water, and they are forcing us to consume now in the bottled water market with the intention of completely privatizing the Barbados Water Authority to be an entity, to no longer be a public entity where taxpayer dollars have to support it. Hence the reason it was reported in the news as a threat to the IMF program, because the institution is basically bankrupt and too dependent on government transfers. Hence the reason Water Authority, they say it requires too much public funding, and therefore they want to cut the funding. And to do that, you increase the price, the unit price of water, and you privatize it and allow the private sector to take on the supply of water. Much like countries across the world who are on the IMF programs usually take the route of privatizing the water systems. For example, Bolivia and some of the other South American countries privatize their water systems through stabilization programs. So that is basically the direction we're headed. Obviously supported by the Green Climate Fund and the climate narrative, but with Mr. Trump in place, now we could all see it come all crumbling down.
Yeah. You know, KEMAR, the thing about it is that I've lived in Cayman for several months, and Cayman doesn't. I can't say that you can't drink the water from the pipes, but what you do find is that there is a significant sale of bottled water in Cayman. Significant. Um, and I'm aware of the fact that, as you know, in terms of health issues, there's also the aspect of a challenge to our health in terms of the plastic bottles that are used, that I'm told leach into the water, leach into the liquids inside of those plastic bottles. I am told that there's one particular type of plastic bottle, I can't recall the code for it. There's a code for it that does not leach, but it's very expensive. I think it's one of those plastic bottles that people like the more expensive water producers, and you all would know what I mean, you know, the sparkling water producers and so on, they would use that very expensive type of plastic bottle, but not the ordinary water bottles. Um, because it's almost like if you're going from the frying pan into the fire, because you are concerned about all of these contaminants in your natural drinking water, which we've always enjoyed in Barbados. I think, Umar, you would agree that, because I lived in Trinidad for several years, and there's always been a question concerning the quality of water there. I don't know if that has changed since I've left, but there was always
Well,
that query.
well,
Yeah,
I have I drink strictly tap water. I don't subscribe to the bottled water,
right.
and for the very same reason that you cited there earlier, and for other reasons as well, because there is the tendency, like I always say, and people can call me conspiracy theorist, they can call me what they want. When the S hits the fan, I would not be one of them, all right? Because I would have, you know, stayed away from participating and taking part in buying this product and consuming this product, because they're going to find a way to interfere with these products. They're going to find a way to put things in it that's going to be harmful for you. You're not going to know. All right. And by they pushing the idea and forcing people to go to bottled water, because the water that's coming through the taps are questionable, and they would allow this information to leak. They would allow the public to get wind of this, just for the very same reason, to push the public in the direction of purchasing the bottled water. But it's all about profits, right? Follow the money, and you'll see where the crime is being done. We have, we have to be, that I was asking the question if the media was aware, on certain things and so on. I think there is a need to push for a response from these agencies. Follow up with phone calls. I sent a letter. Did you receive the letter? What attention is this letter being given? Why haven't I received the response, etc.? Get some sort of dialogue going where you are going to get a response. They push the media in that direction. The media, the best entity to get a response from these agencies. All right, just have to pick up the phone and ask somebody a question. All right, on the other side.
But Umar, I can't say I have a lot of faith in the media in Barbados, but I will say that last week, you'll recall, we did a segment concerning the property development and property sales in Barbados, and I was happy to see through one of our panelists the media take it up, and it was aired on a couple of occasions here in Barbados in the newspapers here in Barbados. And I'm hoping that the same thing on the basis of what you've shared tonight, KEMAR, will be taken up. But it doesn't seem, and I mean, I stand to be corrected. I don't want to be critical of the media unnecessarily, but I don't know the level of investigative journalism that we have here, and being such a small island, the intimidation that can often come, even if investigative journalism is done, the intimidation and threats that can often come if the story is run, that kind of thing.
We have the same issues here.
Yeah.
Very same issues.
And so that, I believe, may be one of the concerns as well. Here in my home, we drink, well, certainly my wife and I, our grandchildren are a little different, but we drink no water, or very little water that is not filtered. We filter all of our water. My wife even goes a step beyond that. She boils all of her water to try to get rid of much of the lime content that is in the water. So she boils, and she boils it and bottles it in glass bottles, and I filter my water and bottle it in glass bottles as well. But it is something that persons may need to take serious attention to in the light of these revelations, KEMAR. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to specifically that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, KEMAR, you were saying something? Or Umar, I'm not sure who it was.
Yeah, it was sticking.
I'm thinking there's a high content of lime in the water in Barbados as is in Tobago.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're a limestone island.
Yeah, the water does taste different in Tobago than in Trinidad.
Yes,
because I've lived in Tobago for quite many years. And there are certain areas where I lived in Tobago, the water would specifically taste differently, not pleasing, not a pleasant taste, but and some other parts of the Tobago, the water will taste pleasantly.
Yes,
so
yes.
But in Trinidad, we don't have that issue, except in some occasions we'd have brown water coming through our taps.
Yes, I do know about that. Yes.
Yeah. So the thing about it is that we have to be ever so vigilant and careful about the direction our agencies are heading and pushing us into, and we have to up our game in calling them out on these issues and getting real answers from them, getting real responses, not the type that they would behave like politicians, but we need to force their hands, and we need to let them know that we are paying attention. All right, and if it comes to the point where perhaps we can threaten or boycott the purchase of bottled water, right, and force the production of good pure water coming to our taps, I think that might be a direction we might want to look into. But I mean, there's so much at stake here.
Yeah,
Not just so, so it's really. I mean, sometimes we feel that we are fighting a losing battle, KEMAR, and what you're doing is very important, KEMAR, and you need to continue doing it. All right, you need to raise the awareness, and this very program, as Pastor Ferdinand would have said, the media would have taken up a particular issue that was dealt with in this program. Perhaps there are issues that the media is going to pick up from this very program, and yours might be one of them, or should be one of them, because it's very important for people to understand what they're consuming and how dangerous it could be, how dangerous it is.
Yes, absolutely. KEMAR, I think I heard you mentioning something just now as well.
Yes, I was trying to say that one of the wells, particularly the well at Constant, Constant has uh, more contamination than the others, I should say. But could you recall that the government promised a housing project at Constant?
Yes, I do.
Right? So where would you
became of that?
But where would you try to put more people
into a contaminated area?
Where they have to draw on a contaminated water source. Right? But remember, a lot of changes were made to the Barbados Water Authority legislation when the Deputy Prime Minister was the Minister of Water Resources, when they went to the Netherlands and came back with a slew of amendments changing up the land zoning policies and coming back with plans to build sewer systems. I know that there's an attempted project happening in that's behind Belmont Primary School, where we have a high level of squatting. Right. Then there's attempted water project to put sewer systems in other parts of the island. So also recall that the government attempted to privatize all wells in Barbados, even wells on your own private property. They're saying that you can't draw water from your own well.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that as well.
Right.
Wow.
So how could you say to people they can't draw their own water and they should rely on using contaminated water for consumption? Also, if you recall, the government closed down a lot of the standpipes around the country where the people who lived in the villages could have access to water, even if your bill got cut off, etc. No, a lot of them are closed down. There's still a few around, not as many as before. Right?
Same was done in Trinidad. Same exact thing was done in Trinidad.
So you could see part of Ferdinand why then the IMF would come and give economic advice to increase the price of water, right? Because along with the sewage tax, Water is an essential item that you need for your everyday life. Is the source of life. Water surrounds everything. You need it. So my thing is, we need to better understand what is happening, and we need to find better, cleaner sources of water and better, cleaner ways of handling the water, because we have the elderly population, right? And we cannot afford to have people being sick or break out in waterborne diseases happening uh, in Barbados. But as someone said, United Nations Special Development Goal, sustainable
Development Goals, yes.
water, sustainable delivery of water to households. And all I would say is, do not fall for the trick of, of believing that there will be a differentiation of clean water from that of the reused uh, treated water from the South Coast sewage plant that they want to do. Here, what $600 million worth of a plant at the South Coast sewage point to clean this water and put it right back into the groundwater for us, part of Ferdinand, to consume. That's probably in my heart.
Yeah, again, as you're speaking, I've just made a couple of notes. Someone in the chat has posted information, KEMAR, to do with the dye in terms of tracing water flows in rivers, excuse me, lakes, groundwater systems, detecting leaks and pipes, and so on. But while that is the case, you're still taking it in. The general public is still taking it in, and from what I understand, there's some people who are allergic to dyes, period, in terms of drinking water. Now, I don't know if in every case, because I know sometimes maybe these chemical products, and that's what it is, a chemical product, can literally disappear in terms of coming out of your pipe. You may not even see the color content of it coming out of your pipe, and persons may consume it, and then you have a major physical crisis on your hands. Another person, and I think you mentioned it just now about looking at alternative sources of water. And I saw, I think it was in Africa, I saw a video to do with the production of water from the air, where they were actually catching the water out of the atmosphere and processing it and using it. And these are things, I guess, that will come into play in the future. But it is a concern. I would want to say it would be a concern for people hearing this information from you tonight. People will get up and say to themselves, I have to be careful what I'm consuming. And it is cause, when I read this thing about the dye, the first question I asked is, what's the position of the chief medical officer on this? Has he been consulted on this? He's the chief medical officer of the country, in terms of knowing about the contaminants that would affect people's health in the country. Has he been consulted? And if he's been consulted, why is it that we have not heard from him, but we're hearing from the Water Authority? I think it would garner more confidence to the people of the country if the chief medical officer of the country comes out and indicates what this dye is, what it will accomplish, what effects and impacts it will have on people's health, if any. These are things that need to be shared. And I don't think a simple PR release is adequate. People have concerns. And let's face it, after the pandemic, people have lost faith in government, not just here, period. They've lost faith in government. Rose, I know you've been quiet, and I know we talked about coming back to your aspect, and I do want you to pick it up maybe on Monday next week. But I have indicated, that if any of my other panelists wish to have you on to continue, they're more than welcome. You're not restricted just to the Monday night with me. Although this is I can't remember who it was that called it. Was it you, KEMAR, that called it CARICOM Mondays? um,
Yeah.
yes, CARICOM Mondays. Um, but your thoughts, Rose, because I am hearing another KEMAR. I'm hearing another public emergency, public health issue. Is it? That's how is reference rules, public health issue, or something like that.
Health emergency.
Emergency. You're
Wait,
muted, Rose. You're muted. Let me see if I can. You have to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
yeah, there you go.
It is certainly not a public health disease. It could probably, if it continues as we're hearing, it may result in health issues. But I listened engrossed, as I always do, to KEMAR, and very reflective on what he has shared. And like you said, we don't need a press release on matters as important
As this.
as water. We probably need to have some wider engagement. I don't know from whom, but to let us know what's going on. People raise questions about that dye in the water. The press release said that it was used to test the water and determine leakage or whatever. But then as the information was shared, people started asking, but what kind of dye is it? So those are the things. Remember that we are informed, we're educated, we're widely read, we do our research, and you just cannot give a statement to say, answer the wider questions then, and because water is important, it is one of man's basic needs, and potable water used for cooking, even bathing. We're not only talking about consuming the water, drinking the water, but what effect would it have on our skin, on our hair, to our organs, to our eyes? When we have to bathe in it, we're not plants, and even plants can be affected if the water has pollutants in it. So please, if we could have, if you don't come on the Marcy Week show, maybe you can have a wider dialogue and with the public on public television, on the radio. But if there are concerns, please meet us and share with us, the Barbadian public. We have concerns. I do boil my water, and I do purchase water, alkaline. In fact, years ago, my doctor told us to drink that alkaline water.
Yes.
It's a bit more expensive, but for health reasons. So we boil our water here. And not just one bubble. but
No,
sometimes
no.
we boil it so long that we get about half of what we would have put into the container to boil after so much boiling. But I would tell persons out there, if you can't, I mean, it is, but we're just right, a two-member family. So to buy bottled water and to boil it is not would not be as expensive or as costly for a bigger family as it would be for a bigger family. But I would say that take precautionary measures and boil your water. And, you know, take care of yourself until the matter is resolved. We have to take that responsibility.
Yes.
Until the matter is resolved at national level. And I would say that tonight's session, although, you know, I wasn't able to complete it, all connected hearing from Reverend BAIRD and her associate minister what they are doing, and I believe it is representative to it of what the wider church community is doing too. And to hear from my brother UMAR with his insightful contributions and questions he would ask, and bringing together what happens in Trinidad and looking at similar dots that we can connect, I would say that we had an interesting, as always, session. So thank you. And people out there, take care of yourselves. And if you have concerns, boil that water several times and strain it. And strain it. And don't use recycled PET bottles or recycled water bottles. And if you have glass containers, do so. Or you know, glass bottles, or take the precautions to take care of yourself. We're in this thing together.
You're right, you know, Rose, because our health is so critically important. You know, older you get, the more you realize how important it is.
Yes.
You know, as I mentioned, my wife, she boils. I mean, she lets it boil. You know, when the kettle starts to whistle, she will put a implement onto the area and leave it to boil for a few minutes more before she actually uses it.
Yeah.
There's also, you did make mention of a high alkaline water, and it is a fact the body performs at its maximum with an alkaline environment, not acidic. And there are some waters. I'm not sure if they're for sale in the supermarkets. I'd have to check because I don't use bottled water here in Barbados. When I'm in Grand Cayman, I do. Because of some of the contaminant aspect of the water that occurred there during Hurricane Ivan. And at that time, everybody started using bottled water. People will use the pipe water. Some Caymanians will use it and drink it straight from the pipe. They will boil it. But the majority, I shouldn't say the majority, there is a lot of bottled water sold in Grand Cayman on a regular basis. And so I'm used to that there. Of course, I choose my waters very carefully. I choose them by brand because I happen to know that the particular brand uses a particular type of plastic bottle that does not leach. Like I said, I can't remember the code that it goes by, but there is a code for one of the plastics that they use that does not leach into the water. But of course, glass is ideal. So I do get the alkaline water there. There's a colleague of mine that I'm going to contact him tomorrow because there is a product that he provides that actually makes the water alkaline. And I must find out from him, what that product is, if he's the only person that provides it in the Caribbean or if it's available anywhere else in the Caribbean. But we do need to pay attention to our health. There's no question about that. KEMAR, we are at 3 minutes after 10. Just want to give you the opportunity for any closing remarks relative, or even if it's not relative to what you've shared. But we appreciate you enlightening us and making us aware of this issue in the context of our country. We appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight and share this with us. Your closing remarks.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Ferdinand. Thank you to all of the members of the Lawyer Opposition for having me on. Thank you to the other hosts tonight for being on. My parting comment would be, this for me is a public health emergency, and it should be given the necessary attention because water touches every man, boy, girl, grandmother, and everybody, even the animals. Right? The entire world is dependent on clean water and the consumption of that water. And Barbados has a crisis going on in that some of our water wells have been contaminated beyond, the threshold. So therefore, the required and corrective action is needed, and further preventative action to ensure that it doesn't happen in future instances. Speaking of alternate sources of water, the idea is to work about water humidifiers, which could extract water from the air. New ideas and new ventures are popping up as to how we could get clean water. Again, I do not support the idea of the water we use tertiary level plant, at least of course, to put that water back into our aquifers. I think we should halt on that and not take on the $600 million debt for nature swap. And I think the Ministry of Water Resources and the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Environment should come and address the nation of Barbados, giving us a comprehensive report as to the status and the quality of Barbados' water supply. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, KEMAR. We see some comments coming up there. Yes, Dewdrop. We have not forgotten, trust me, we have not forgotten the HOPE project or the digital IDs, cybercrime bill, South Coast. So we haven't forgotten any of them, trust me. But thank you so much for dropping that in there. Somebody also made a comment about getting back to the monkeys. Those clear jugs, again, I have one very large barrel, clay barrel, and a couple of other smaller monkeys that I'm going to have to start looking at using again. But want to thank all of you again. Umar, thank you so very much for staying on. I really appreciate you staying on. As long as you do, you don't need to, but you do, and we thank you, because there is always an important aspect to my mind, not only of seeing things from a global perspective, but realizing that some of the things that we're experiencing here are not isolated to us, but that there are other Caribbean countries that are going through some of the same things, and maybe we need to start paying attention to that type of thing. I mean, we have problems here with our hospital, and from listening to you as you started your presentation tonight, the same things you spoke about at the beginning of your presentation, some of the same things we're going through right here in Barbados. And I think it's important that we acknowledge this, recognize it, and realize that we do need to walk hand in hand, so together, and to stand together, because I saw somebody put it on in the chat earlier. It's divided what? United we stand, divided we fall, I think is how they put it. And I believe there's a need for Caribbean citizens to wake up. It's almost like we are in a daze or under some influence where people are not realizing what is going on. And I pay attention, and myself as well, to the global situation, and I appreciate you coming on Mondays and bringing that global perspective. And I think that's so important, because we need to understand that a lot, and I've said it before, a lot of what's happening in our countries is not homegrown. It's coming in from outside where people know nothing about us, nothing about our culture, nothing about our history, nothing about our people. And my mind goes back, Rose, to those Cersei bushes and those. I used to love when my mother did the margarine and the not the margarine. What you call those? Let me see if I can find it here again. When she was doing the seasoning, I had written it down somewhere.
Marjoram.
Time, time, time as sweet margarine.
Yeah.
When she used to do and I used to sit there eat that thing raw. I used to enjoy eating seasoning raw, and if my wife gave me the opportunity, I would probably eat all of the Aunt May's seasoning that she has in the fridge because I just love to use to eat it raw. And every now and again, when I'm eating my rice or whatever, I'll take some of that raw seasoning and just mix it in with the rice and eat it. And it's quite tasty and very healthy for you because it has so many great ingredients in it. I don't remember what they call those long things that look like celery, but they were very skinny. You can tell I don't cook
Right.
in the kitchen very much, or Umar.
Parsley.
Yeah,
Chives.
parsley, yes, those other things. So thank you so very much for staying with us, Rose. Thank you again. I'm going to have to find a way to give you more time. Going to have to find a way. Pray for me. I'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
But thank you again.
Always a
And if
pleasure.
if if it doesn't, I know sometimes it's very difficult to continue when you have a week of separation between ourselves because so much happens in that week. And it's like every day you get up, there's something more or something different. And I appreciate trying to look at the continuation, but I also appreciate the fact that during that time there are other things that come up that you zero in on, and you bring a perspective to that. So we really appreciate it tonight. And of course, we want to say how much we appreciate Marcia and Dave, and I personally want to thank them for trusting me and placing in my hands the responsibility of hosting the show on Monday evenings, and really appreciate their trust and thank them for that. And above all, we want to thank the loyal opposition. What is it, the way you put it? Loyal sons
Sons
and
and
daughters,
daughters.
all. And those of you that have joined us from New York, from Brooklyn, saw somebody join us tonight from the UK, as late as this was, Philadelphia, and of course, Umar from your home country. We've seen a couple of persons on from Trinidad as well. And we're going to see if we can get some others on from the CARICOM region to engage some of these aspects as well. So we want to say thank you to all of the loyal opposition, sons and daughters all. Thank you to the CARICOM loyalists. Again, thank you, Amar Rose. Thank you, KEMAR. I know he's jumped off. Thank you, Lucille and Gail.
Yeah.
Reverend Gail Price and Apostle Lucille Beard. We wish you all the best on your journey tomorrow as you embark upon your trips there with the buses and so on. We want to thank all of you. And I do want to thank Dave for being there in the back again and assisting with all the back technology and those type of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having you with us tonight. We appreciate your presence. Thank you for sharing all that you have. And we want to wish all of you a great night. So God bless you. Good night to you. Good night to you, Umar. Good night to you, Rose. All of you
Uh,
have a great, great evening.
Good
God
night,
bless.
everybody. Bye.
Good night. Bye bye.